And now, introducing a man who is throwing 7 different kinds of smoke, because somebody has to now that the Orioles are trading away their best relievers. He's harnessing his inner Glenn-ness. That's his name with Ness on the end of it. He is Glenn Clark.
It's very clever. Good morning. It's Glenn Clark Radio. I'm Glenn Clark. He is Paul Valley. It's a Monday morning. Baseball's back this week. Duke's out of the picture. God, life couldn't be any better. Actually, I don't really care about the baseball won't be back until Friday, so we still have to get through about 5 days. And even when it comes back, it ain't really back in Baltimore until next week. And even when that comes back, yeah, let's still be realistic about that. But still, we're getting there. And more importantly, there's no Duke in the title game, and that's a wonderful thing. I want to talk more about that in today's show. I'll get to that here in 1 second. It is a Monday edition of the program. Today's show is brought to you by the FanDuel Sportsbook at Live Casino and Hotel, and that's where I'm going to be tonight with my buddy Rodney Elliott, the former Terps and Dunbar star. We will be hanging out with you in the FanDuel Sportsbook for Carolina and Kansas. I have not, this is the tricky part to me. Everything this weekend was so centered around Duke that I don't even know how I feel about tonight. I will admit that there's a part of me that just sort of says Carolina has played so well that I don't think they should be 4-point dogs to just about anybody at the moment. And I understand it's not a big number. Like, if you think Kansas is going to win, the likelihood that they win by fewer than 4 points is kind of slim. But I just sort of think that Carolina has played so well that they shouldn't be 4-point dogs to anybody. Now, Kansas, of course, played really well against Villanova on Saturday. Kansas has probably been the steadiest team since the beginning of the calendar year in college basketball. So I get it, but I think I'm leaning towards Carolina as my pick for tonight. I think you're just sort of playing the points and saying, I think these two teams both deserve to be there. I don't think one is particularly better than the other at the moment. We all know Kansas had a better season than Carolina did. But at the moment, I don't see enough separation for me to say that I think Kansas is particularly better. So if I got 4 points to play with, I'm going to play with those 4 points, and I'm going to bet Carolina. I think that's the route I'm going tonight. As far as rooting is concerned, my rooting interest will be completely based upon how I bet, because I don't give a rat's ass. Don't care. I have appreciation for the fact that Carolina did the Lord's work, or whatever you believe in as far as deities are concerned. They did that work on Saturday, so maybe there's a slight interest to me in saying, all right, go get them. Go get them, sports. But, if you want me to rev up some of my underlying Carolina hate for the night, I could probably do that too. I haven't visited it in some time. I still hate Anton Jameson and Vince Carter and all of those jerks that I had to watch over the years. Not nearly the way that I hated Duke, of course. But I just haven't felt it in a long time either. So I don't know. I don't know. I hate to say I'm indifferent, because that doesn't make for quality programming this evening. I'll make some bets, and that will guide me as to how I ultimately feel about tonight's game. That will be my guiding light for my feelings about tonight, will be the bets that I make when I'm in the FanDuel Sportsbook. You can make bets, and if you make a $50 bet on tonight's game, because this is the last one, $50 or more, and you're a Live Rewards member, you can register that bet to win a $500 bracket bonus. It matters not that it was on the title game and not on a first-round game. All games created equal in terms of bracket bonuses. 10 Live Rewards members are winning bracket bonuses. You got to register your bet, and you got to be a Live Rewards member. So if you're coming to hang out with us tonight, just go right up to the window there at the FanDuel Sportsbook. Say, hey, I meant to sign up, and I didn't. No problem. They got you covered in the FanDuel Sportsbook to get you signed up for Live Rewards. Go see them tonight. And our buddy Chris Ruling, Grade 8's Memorabilia, providing some great giveaways for tonight's action as well. It's going to be a fun night in the FanDuel Sportsbook at Live Casino and Hotel. Speaking of college basketball, Greivis Vasquez is going to join us a little bit later on this morning. He's been working down in New Orleans for Westwood One, did the Final Four, and going to do the title game, a Spanish broadcast that they do for Westwood One. So Greivis is going to check in with us, and we will talk to him both about tonight's game, And we'll also talk about Kevin Willard and the future of Maryland basketball with one of the greatest players in the school's history. That's coming up a bit later on. It's Monday, so Jeremy Conn will check in with us. And, of course, stuff and things on a Monday edition of the program. You cannot possibly get me to care about the trade the Orioles made yesterday. I cannot fathom any human being that would spend even an ounce of energy thinking about trading away the likes of Cole Sulser and Tanner Scott. I can't fathom it. Maybe 4 years ago, I could have understood you being worked up about the Orioles moving on from someone who could throw the ball really hard. Because you convinced yourself, a lot of us did 4 years ago, that Tanner Scott could throw the ball so hard that there's got to be a way to make that work. He could be, from a baseball standpoint, the next Aroldis Chapman. We convinced ourselves of that. And then we saw it. And it wasn't it, Chief. He wasn't that. Does that mean it can't still maybe be harnessed by someone else somewhere? I don't know, maybe. I'll bet against it at this point, but of course we all know anything's possible. But there was nothing that we had actually seen from Tanner Scott that suggested that Tanner Scott was going to be any sort of quality major league arm. Other than the fact that, again, he threw the ball really hard. And he definitely did that. There's no debating it. He could throw the ball. He could really hump the ball.
Just not for a strike.
Unfortunately, I hear that's important. Unfortunately, I hear that it's necessary that if you can throw the ball really hard, you got to be able to get it into the zone. So I just can't fathom. I can't fathom having an ounce of emotion whatsoever. Can I tell you it's a good trade? Nope. Sure as F can't do that. Can I tell you it makes sense? Nope. I can't tell you any of that. Who knows? It's a trade for trade's sake. But there's no reason for us to care at all. There's nothing here. There is no there. There's nothing. It's maneuvering players that weren't factors in a roster that wasn't good to begin with. And I get it. Whenever we see something that's newsworthy, we think we need to have a take or an opinion or something along those lines. But there just ain't nothing there, man. And it's not even like this isn't even like when they dealt Jake Arrieta. And we've done the revisionist history thing on Jake Arrieta for forever. We all knew where the Orioles were at that point. They were trying to win. Jake Arrieta couldn't help them win, and they were out of options. They had no choice. So as infuriating as it was to watch Jake Arrieta succeed moving forward, when we all knew what kind of stuff he had and why it was that we believed he could be good, at the moment, the Orioles were left with kind of no other choice. Now, you can question all the process that got them to that point with Jake Arrieta. That's fine. But the move itself, we're douchebags when we try to go back and pretend like it was a bad decision from the Orioles at that point. They wanted to win. Winning was good. Trying to win was a good thing. Continuing to give a roster spot to someone who couldn't help you win was a bad thing. This ain't even that. Tanner Scott, the best he could do, could never compare to what Jake Arrieta could do. The best case scenario with Tanner Scott at this point is that someone figures out a way to get him to throw the ball in the strike zone and he can become a solid one-inning guy somewhere. Best case scenario. And the best argument you could make is, well, yeah, but wouldn't you like to figure that out and have him have more trade value? They tried! They tried! It wasn't happening. Yes, I get it. The guys that throw the ball 100 miles an hour don't grow on trees. I understand that. And so we always react to it a certain way. But that's all we're reacting to. It's literally the entirety of what we're reacting to is the fact that Tanner Scott can throw the ball hard. And we think that's supposed to make someone an asset. And it just ain't the case.
I felt like I needed to have a reaction to the trade last night because I do the show. Mm-hmm. And I couldn't find one. My knee-jerk reaction was, well, they just made their bullpen worse. But then, and I was a big don't trade Tanner Scott guy for years. but he's kind of proven who he is.
Like, what are you doing?
He has no idea where his fastball is going. I'm more upset about Cole Sulser because he was their only consistent reliever last year.
I hear you.
But you look foolish. I was upset about it at first, but you kind of look foolish getting upset about it because they weren't going to be good anyway. So what's it matter?
What are we doing? Like, what are we doing? There are things the Orioles can do that I would actually say. As I said before, there is zero reason that they should have. We now know they're not going to be trading Trey Mancini at the moment, right? Because they've come to an agreement with him. But there was no reason for them to trade Trey Mancini. None. Zero. Zip. Zilch. Trading Cole Sulser, I think, comes because you're confused why someone's interested in Cole Sulser. No, if I get it, you could say he was consistent, but let's be realistic about this. He's a guy. That's what he is. He's a guy. You're never getting anything real for Cole Sulser. It's this thing. I still had, and I'm not going to call anybody out by name, I still had stupid people who clearly didn't read my column but commented on it when I posted about Trey Mancini saying, yes, but you want to make sure you get something for him. You can't have, look at how bad they did in the Manny Machado trade. You couldn't do anything close to that crap trade for Trey Mancini. We're so dumb. And please continue to click on the things that we share. Continue to watch this show. We are so stupid. We think things are assets that aren't assets. Cole Sulser isn't an asset. He's a guy. That's it. If you held on to the trade deadline, you get the exact same thing. Something else you don't really want, but you can make the trade for the sake of making it.
He's a guy that you add on to get more for Tanner Scott.
Maybe, like marginally more. I don't even know which one of them the Marlins want. Look, if I have no idea why the Marlins are interested in making this move either. But whatever. God bless.
They love Orioles relievers. Apparently.
They do have a thing for Orioles relievers. You're not wrong about that. They also won for Wei-Yin Chen once upon a time too. They for some reason look at the
Orioles. That's the
that's
model
where you find pitchers, right? God, very weird bit. I don't get it one bit, but that's their problem. It ain't mine. Like, he's a guy. The Tanner Scott part gets you worked up because he can throw the ball hard. Because we're enamored by that. It's Kyle Bowler throwing the ball 60 yards from his knees. Well, if he can do that, he's got to be good, right? Like, no, come on, man. We know. We know the answer. Not good. And yes, I get it. Again, you can always find it somewhere else, which is no guarantee you would have found it here. Said that a million times about a bunch of different people. There is no. I've never lost a wink of sleep over Jake Arrieta because I am convinced he never would have found it here. There's no world. Even if Tanner Scott finds it, what is the it he's finding? What is it? He's not going to go win a Cy Young award.
He could, the stuff that he has, if he could harness it, you're looking maybe at it like an Andrew Miller type of thing.
I think Andrew Miller's far better. I think you're disparaging Andrew Miller when you say that. I think he's a far better pitcher.
If he can spot 98 and then throw that devastating slider, that's a damn good pitcher.
It's a useful pitcher. It's a useful relief arm. Mm-hmm. I'm not. As I said, he could become if he could find it, he could become a solid 1 inning guy.
Yeah.
But how long you waiting around for somebody to find it? How long are we going to keep just thinking that could come? It's just not worth it. I know I spent way more time than I should have on this particular topic. It was not worthy of this conversation. I have no idea what to make of the Orioles and Trey Mancini and this option they've added on for the following year. I have no clue. Zero. I couldn't tell you. I really couldn't. I guess if anything, it buys what happens if Trey Mancini happens to have an outstanding season this year? Like, it kind of gives you a little bit of help in that department. You don't just have to trade him at the deadline. You could choose to hold on and see if he could become a helpful piece. I got a column coming today at PressBoxOnline.com that's sort of my start of baseball season column, if you will. It's my, you want to call it a season preview column, which is more about how, hey, I get it. We all know it's not going to be a good team again this year. But, and it's difficult to define, I genuinely believe this is an important season. Like, genuinely. I genuinely believe this is an important season because this is Phase 2. Phase 2 is the arrival of the players that matter. Phase 2 is... Sure. Phase 2 is... Adley Rutschman. Phase 2 is Grayson Rodriguez. And maybe Phase 2 is DL Hall. That's Phase 2. Because we can talk about how the Orioles are the number 1 ranked system in baseball. But it's because of that. Specifically because of those two guys. It's not because they have nothing behind it. They have an average system behind those guys. They have the number 1 system because of those guys. So their arrival is Phase 2 of the process. Because it has to work. If it doesn't work, and I'm not trying to be hyperbolic about this, if it doesn't work with those guys, there's no path. The pitching can't get there. The lineup could still be good, but there's a limit to that. There aren't more studs. There's no cavalry. I always hate using that word, not because of the once upon a time pitching cavalry, because we always say cavalry and it infuriates me. There's nothing there. I hope Heston Kjerstad still at some point becomes a thing, but making any plans around that would be nuts. Colton Cowser, even if he becomes what he becomes, he's not a middle-of-the-order, game-changing bat. He's a good hitter and a guy that you want to have on your team. But he's not turning a solid group into a world-beating group. There's one guy that's that type of talent they have in their system, and that's the guy that's arriving this year. This is a really important year, and it doesn't mean if Adley Rutschman isn't Rookie of the Year that the entire rebuild is a failure. But at some point, if these guys don't pan out both significantly and quickly, the legitimate timeline for all of this could end up pushing back 4 years to this year's number 1 pick. The transcendent talent is the talent that's arriving now. The rest of it is either non-existent or good players that can help as long as these guys pan out. Or their path has to change significantly. And, of course, that can always happen, right? As we talk about, nobody knew John Means was going to be John Means. Nobody knew Trey Mancini was going to be Trey Mancini. Plenty of these players can still have their path alter significantly. This is a really important season. And it's difficult to quantify that because, again, we don't expect it to be wins and losses. It's likely to be miserable, but this is a really important season because we have to start seeing it. Because if you're going to fortify with outside money being spent, it's got to be because you see enough to think that the money is worth being spent. That's my kind of beginning of the season message that I'm going to share today at PressBoxOnline.com. Yes, it's a bummer, and nobody's outside of just having baseball back. There's no reason to be excited about the Orioles, but this is a really, really important year. This is a critical year in this thing working because it ain't coming. The idea that there's a bunch of reinforcements to be had is silly. Right now in the system, it's the guys that are there already and the guys that are getting there right now. And some other pieces, to take nothing away from the pieces. Everybody likes Gunnar Henderson. Everybody likes Jordan Westberg. But those guys aren't making or breaking this rebuild. Adley Rutschman and Grayson Rodriguez are. Plain and simple. They hit, you got a chance. They don't, it ain't here. There ain't enough from top to bottom in the system. This is critical mass that we're talking about. And it's difficult because it sounds hyperbolic when you say it that way, but we got to be realistic about this. And I'm still including DL Hall, but I'm sort of doing it in a measured way, right? Because I still have a couple of question marks. But certainly, if Grayson Rodriguez doesn't hit the way that we think he does, but DL Hall does, that would go a long way to making up for it. These are the dudes. This is the rebuild, what we're talking about right now. That'll be coming today at PressBoxOnline.com. You'll be able to check it out there. Today's show also brought to you by your local Toyota dealer and buyatoyota.com. Make the most out of every day in a Toyota RAV4, available in hybrid or gas-only models. A RAV4 can get you where you want to go in style. Check out buyatoyota.com for deals on new RAV4s from your local Toyota dealer today. As I mentioned, we're going to be down at the FanDuel Sportsbook tonight for the title game. We don't have to worry about Duke, which is pleasant. Instead, it's Carolina and Kansas. Joining us now before he hangs out with us tonight at Live Casino and Hotel Maryland is our friend Rodney Elliott, who's back with us on GCR. What's going on, Rod? How are you, bud?
Good morning, Glenn. I'm well, man. Yourself?
Everything's all right. As long as we didn't have to – the moment the final horn sounded on Saturday night and I knew that we didn't have to worry about Duke tonight, my life was just drastically better. It was just so much. The idea that you and I were going to be hanging out tonight and there's going to be a real fear that we were going to be watching Mike Krzyzewski celebrate and cut down the nets, it left me with a sickening feeling in my stomach, my friend.
The feeling that I have when Duke loses is majestic at times. It's kind of weird, but I love it.
I'm going to pose this to you. It's a topic that we're going to discuss here in a minute, and I'm going to put it out for everybody else. Will that change moving forward for you, right? Like, 'cause it's been a rallying cry for like the entire country. We all take great joy. It's not just Maryland folks. It's everybody takes great joy in watching Duke lose. Will it be the same next year when Mike Krzyzewski's gone? Will we still take the same amount of joy, or does it disappear because you don't see his sort of smug face on the sideline any longer? Like, does it just not mean the same thing when Mike Krzyzewski loses? Will we stop caring the same way?
No, I think it will always feel that way for me. And it's funny because I know I didn't have that feeling before I went to Maryland. I know I didn't. It just literally happened once I got there. So years ago when I was there, I hated it. I loved beating them, competing against them guys. But, yeah, I think it's always going to be the same for me.
All right.
Don't want Duke to win.
I hope I'm interested in this. I'm going to put it out there. I want people to respond. I posted it as a think tank today at Glenn Clark Radio on Twitter. I am nervous about it. I'm nervous that I just won't feel the same way. Now, look, if they win maybe the same way, and if John Shire proves to be just as smug as Mike Krzyzewski was, I'll probably be able to work that hate back up real quick, Rod. I want to make that very clear. It won't take me long.
Oh, yeah.
But I don't know, man.
Sure.
I just –
just let people know on my end, it's not like a really serious hate. It's more or less like from a competitive standpoint,
100%.
not wanting them to win.
I feel you.
But they've had a lot of success, though. They have a lot of success.
All right, so let's talk about tonight, right? I'm caught in a weird place, right? I don't really have a rooting interest. I'm sure maybe you still have some Carolina hate worked up from the years playing against them in the ACC. That's largely dissipated for me. Plus, the enemy of the enemy is my friend, and I appreciate the fact that they beat Duke the other night. From a betting standpoint, the only thing that jumps out to me is I know Kansas has probably been better than Carolina all season long, but I don't really know right now that I think either of these teams should be 4-point favorites in this game. So I think the first thing that jumps out at me from a betting standpoint is I'm probably going to put a couple of bucks on Carolina getting 4 points just because this looks like a pretty even matchup to me, Rod.
Yeah, same here. From a betting standpoint, you know me, I'm always going to go with the over and under. So I'm going to see what that looks like. Probably put a couple dollars on that. But I do think Carolina is playing really well at a really good time right now. I don't think they were ranked a lot or even all year. And to put together a string of wins that they did recently has been fantastic. So I'm looking for them to come out and really play a good 2 quarters, 2 halves of basketball, and will it be close? Yeah, probably will be close. So 4 points might be safe.
All right, so I'm looking at the number, by the way. At the moment, the total is 151.5. And, we saw a lot of points scored, obviously, in the Carolina-Duke game. Both these teams scored 81 points on Saturday. And like Kansas did it against a Villanova defense that had been shutting everybody down during the course of the tournament, but had no answers for them. So I'm a little bit confused about that one. Normally I like to play the under, and it's the title game, right? Like there's got to be an amount of pressure that comes along with that and an intensity to it that makes every possession matter. But boy, these are both good offenses at the moment. I don't know. I'm nervy about that one. 151.5 is the number.
Yeah, but I chopped that in half. So am I going to say both going to get around the 75 number? I don't know about that. I'm not a big sure about that. So I think they're going to hunker down, and we're talking about maybe that low mid 60s type score is something I'm going for.
All right, so you're still playing the under. You're still feeling the under tonight.
Yes.
So the cool thing about tonight is there's also a bunch of ridiculous props that are available for players. Like you can bet, for example, if you want to bet, I'll give you a number. If you want to bet R.J. Davis to score 15 points, you can get plus 120 odds on that. There's a bunch of silly props that are available for players. I made the mistake and rode Brady Manick to score 20 points in the Final Four. That didn't work out for me. Obviously, it was the Caleb Love show. But Caleb Love, despite his insane performance on Saturday, you still get plus money, plus 165, to bet him to score 20 points tonight, right? Like, the way he played on Saturday, man, he's hot at the moment. I don't know. I kind of feel like that might be a decent play to bet Caleb Love to score 20 points tonight.
If Carolina wins, you're going to see Caleb Love having a good game. And a lot of good games will come with some really big-time baskets. So I put my money on Caleb Love because he's a big shot maker, a big shot taker, and also a big shot maker. So I'm going to go for that.
So also I will point out that most outstanding player odds for tonight, they clearly, because they think Kansas is going to win, they've got Abaji sitting as the favorite at plus 125, but Caleb Love is sitting at 5-1 to be most outstanding player. And after what he did on Saturday, if they win tonight, I think there's a pretty good chance that Caleb Love ends up being most outstanding player. That might be one that I choose to play as well, is Caleb Love as MOP. What does this game come down to you? Ultimately, the team that wins this game tonight wins it because what, Rodney?
Good question. I think the team that wins tonight because they don't make a lot of mistakes, right? They don't have a lot of turnovers. They rebound the ball well. So I'm thinking that rebound is going to be really a big thing for Carolina to secure that rebound. So if they do that, they're going to have a good chance to win. And rebounding and not a lot of turnovers.
Obviously, we saw Armando Bacot. It felt like he had about 100 rebounds on Saturday night before he got hurt. And boy, the toughness of that kid, right? Like it looked like he was done, right? Like it looked like the knee injury was just going to end his run. And 2 minutes later, he's running back onto the floor like, all right, let's go, bro. I don't care. Like it's the Final Four, man.
Right? Yeah, they got one more game until it's all over with. So they're going to give everything they got. And if he got to come out and get double-digit rebounds and that's it, I think he'll be able to do that. So
I agree.
They got big goals going on for right now, and they also got some next-level goals. So I'm happy for them.
I mean, it was an incredible testament to them. It was something incredible to see. Give me your just because it is the end. Do you have a story of an interaction that you had with Mike Krzyzewski? Like, do you? My buddy Jerome Burney, who of course played years after you at Maryland, he was on Facebook the other day sharing like a really pleasant interaction that he had with Mike Krzyzewski, and I was like, bro, I don't think you're allowed to say that right now. Like, I don't think that that's supposed to happen. But do you have any of those stories? Did you ever have like a conversation with him, an interaction with him that stood out to you?
You know what? Actually, I never did. I mean, nothing, but, after the game, shaking hands, things of that nature. So I never had a one-on-one with Coach K, but I know Steve Wojciechowski very well.
Sure.
He's from Baltimore, so, all the stories that he shares about Coach K are genuine. So he does a great job of putting his guys in a position to win. Does a great job with the coaching tree as well. So a lot of his guys are still, coaching at the high level. So, nothing but ultimate respect for him. But, yeah, like you said, I want to see him go down.
Of course that. He never attempted to teach you how to play the game the right way, which he's done with a few opposing players over the years, which is part of the reason why we've always struggled with him. All right, Rodney Elliott, we will be there tonight. We'll be hanging out in the FanDuel Sportsbook. The game, I don't know why it tips off. I've never understood why the title game tips off at 9:20, but we're going to get there a little bit earlier than that. We're going to start getting people registered to win some great prizes. We got some memorabilia we're going to give away tonight, so we'll be there at 8:30 to start registering you, and Rodney and I are going to enjoy some delicious food, and we'll give you some tips, and then we'll be hanging out during the game to just give you a couple ideas of how we feel like things are going and where we think you should be putting your money betting-wise. Rodney Elliott, this has been a lot of fun, man. Appreciate you. Can't wait to see you tonight. Thank you for taking a couple of minutes for us this morning.
No problem. I'll see you later on.
All right, brother. Former Terps and Dunbar star Rodney Elliott checking in with us tonight ahead of the championship game. And, again, we will be there starting at 8:30 in the FanDuel Sportsbook at Live Casino and Hotel Maryland. Everybody reminds me, like my buddy Chris DeShiel was like, why is everybody still complaining about the tip-off time? It's been the same tip-off time forever. And I think part of it is we forget it's only a 2-hour basketball game. Like, I think we react to it like we're going to be up until 1 a.m. We will not. Like, it'll be over by 11:30. Even if it goes to overtime, the game's not going past midnight. So settle down a little bit about that. But it still sucks to have to sit around and wait. Like, I think that's the part that we have to sit around and wait. And there's nothing else to watch. They don't play. Literally, the NBA takes the entire night off in deference to the national championship game. I think there's like one hockey game on TV tonight. Like, there is just so little to watch otherwise. So I think we're more frustrated about that. If you could get a nice 7 o'clock basketball game, like an NBA game, that ran us right up until tip time for the national championship game, that would be pleasant.
If they didn't have the lockout, you'd have a baseball game.
It's true. This would have been opening day, right? Like, this would have been the first day of the baseball season. So, yeah, blame baseball for this because we wouldn't be sitting around waiting the same way. We would have had baseball to watch instead.
But the 9:20 time, also, it gives people on the West Coast who probably have to work an opportunity to watch the game.
And that's, by the way, like, we do forget, and I experienced it firsthand when I was living out there. We genuinely, the East Coast bias thing is quite real. And we pretend like it's not, but it's overwhelming, and you feel it significantly when you live out there. When big events start at 4 in the afternoon, it's dreadful. It's just wretched for folks out there. By the way, they played in San Francisco. San Francisco hosted one of the Sweet 16 days, and the first game was at 7:20, 4:20 Pacific time. Imagine buying ticket. The NCAA tournament is coming to town. We got an opportunity to be a part of it. Oh, but you got to be there by 4:20 in the afternoon. Mm-hmm. It's nuts. It's nuts. So I get it. I still think there could be a more comfortable medium, like maybe 8:50 p.m. Eastern time, 5:50 Pacific time. That gives people time. If you presume the workday ends at 5:50, it's plenty of time for you to get home and be able to watch the game at 5:50. I still think that maybe bumping it up about 30 minutes would be a better fit for everyone.
Right.
I get that the argument is you're trying to get kids to become fans, and this takes kids out of the equation because it's a school night, and they can't stay up to watch the game. And I agree to some extent that's a problem, although you're never going to get these sports to prioritize kids over advertisers. We're screaming into a void. The advertisers are the ones that matter most, and the advertisers say we don't want the game starting at 5 o'clock Pacific time. We want to be able to reach the entirety of the country in a desirable range. So, and by the way, I don't know if you heard, they're not selling to 8-year-olds. That's not what they're looking for. They're looking for adults. So, I hear that complaint constantly, and I get it, but come on, man. I am at fault for forgetting that we do this every year. It's a 2-hour basketball game. We're all going to be okay. We can all be in bed by midnight tonight without a problem, even if we want to watch the game. I got to drive back from the casino. I got to stay up later than you, and I'm not going to be the one complaining about it, so you all can chill out. Come hang out with us. You'll feel better about it. And if you got to take tomorrow off, if you have a one too many, no big deal. No big deal. Take tomorrow off. Today's show also brought to you by Glory Days Grill, where I warned you, you missed out. St. Patrick's Day menu is gone, baby, gone. But there are still always wonderful specials to be had at your neighborhood Glory Days Grill, including $6.99 nachos on Thursdays. This is unbelievable to me. With baseball now back, you can stop by Glory Days Grill Thursday through Sunday of this week for their Danker Dog, a delicious loaded chili dog with fries for only $8.99. That sounds pretty Americana to me, baby. That sounds like baseball. All opening weekend, Thursday through Sunday, the $8.99 Danker Dog, loaded chili dog and fries. Get to your neighborhood Glory Days Grill. Visit glorydaysgrill.com to find out more. Glory Days Grill, great food, good sports. I want to talk more about that. Our Duke hate. This thing that has rallied us as Americans for years. We agreed upon nothing. We hated each other. We screamed at each other on Twitter until Duke was losing a basketball game. And then we all hugged each other. We called people we hadn't talked to in years to share our joy, our delight. Where does that go now moving forward? Will we still hate Duke the same way without Mike Krzyzewski? Is it over? I want to talk about that because I had a sort of a moment on Sunday morning as I was thinking about it. Will I ever feel joy like this again in my life? Talk about it next. It's Glenn Clark Radio. Sports fans, the wait is over. The all-new FanDuel Sportsbook is now open at Live Casino and Hotel in Hanover, Maryland. This is your chance to win big right in your own backyard. Bet on every sport with self-service kiosks and watch all of the action from the best seat in the house. Make every moment more at the all-new FanDuel Sportsbook at Live Casino and Hotel in Hanover. Please play responsibly. Gambling problem? Please call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit mdgamblinghelp.org.
The newest edition of PressBox is available now. On the cover, we celebrate the 20th anniversary of Maryland men's basketball's 2002 NCAA Tournament Championship, as Gary Williams reflects on how the program rose from the ashes of NCAA sanctions to the pinnacle of the sport, and why his perspective of the title run has changed now 2 decades later. Plus, Juan Dixon, Lonnie Baxter, and the rest of the team relive the moments that ultimately led them to cutting down the nets in Atlanta. PressBox is available for free at over 500 area locations, including 60 Royal Farms stores. And you can always find the entire edition, as well as the best daily coverage of the Orioles, Ravens, and Terps at PressBoxOnline.com.
Answering Baltimore's calls for help, running in when others run away, working together toward one shared vision for a thriving city. That's your Baltimore Police. But the department needs more good people, people like you. Join a proud new generation of Baltimore Police and make an active difference in your community. Start with competitive wages and excellent benefits on day one. Join for good at bpdrecruit.org.
Gambling can be a fun and entertaining experience, but there are risks involved. If you're planning on betting on the game at the casino or on your phone or computer, know your limit, stay within it. Set a budget and a time to stop. Remember, gambling isn't a financial solution, and it doesn't mix well with alcohol or drugs. Know the risks and have a plan before you begin gambling. For free and confidential services, call 1-800-GAMBLER 24/7 or go to helpmygamblingproblem.org.
Stan the Fan here, welcoming back one of my favorite sponsors, the Costas Inn. And everybody around Baltimore knows that the Costas Inn is a great place to go and grab crabs, steaks, salads, soups, whatever's on your mind to eat in person. But did you know that the Costas Inn has upped their game? They are now one of the premier takeout places in Baltimore. Give them a call now to order your food, 410-477-1975. That's the Costas Inn over 4100 North Point Boulevard.
The biggest pro wrestling stars today and all time all have one thing in common. You've heard them on Jobbing Out.
Matt and Nick Jackson, the Young Bucks.
Thanks for having us, man. Appreciate it.
The great Kurt Angle.
Thanks for having me on the show. I appreciate it.
Matt Riddle.
Yeah, man. Thanks, man.
The champ, Drew McIntyre.
Oh, thank you for having me.
The great Ron Simmons.
Damn.
Keith Lee.
Appreciate you guys having me, man.
Bill Goldberg.
My pleasure.
Charlotte.
Thank you so much for having me.
Mick Foley is with us.
This is the greatest name for a wrestling show I've ever heard.
MJF.
I'm glad you're happy I'm on this show because I'm freaking miserable.
Le champion!
Chris Jericho.
Le champion.
AJ, Aaron, Brandon, and Glenn are talking pro wrestling every week on Jobbing Out. Find it at PressBoxOnline.com/radio, iTunes, and SoundCloud.
Stay tuned. Your chance to win $1 million is coming up. Probably not from us, You're listening to Glenn Clark Radio.
All right, back in here on GCR as we continue on a Monday edition of the show. Greivis Vasquez scheduled to join us in just a few minutes from down in New Orleans, where he's getting ready for the title game. Today's show also brought to you by Underdog Fantasy Football. I love me some Underdog. You can feel like you're betting. You still can't bet on your phone or your computer here in the state of Maryland, which is quite silly, but there's nothing we can do about that. So, in the meantime, what I would encourage you to do is sign up for Underdog. When you use the code PRESSBOX, we'll match up to $100 of free money for you to play with when you make that first deposit. And while you can't actually bet, what you can do is the closest you can feel like betting on your phone or on your computer here in Maryland. You can play player props. You can play parlays. Baseball season about to get underway. Basketball winding down for the regular season, but they'll continue to have contests into the playoffs. Hockey, same thing. All available. Underdog Fantasy Football. Download the app or go to UnderdogFantasy.com and get started today. Quickly, because I had a couple people ask from Derek, you can't get me to, should the Ravens trade for DK Metcalf? Sure. What does that mean? I mean, I don't know where this started. Like, I feel like this was just like somebody throwing out like
somebody threw out the eyeball emojis like last week and then got upset when people were asking what it was about, which I thought was kind of a stupid bit.
I just don't feel like there was anything real to this. I don't feel like anybody actually was legitimately reporting that the Seahawks were looking to move DK Metcalf. Unless I missed something entirely as I was poking around about this feels like a creation of social media. And I know Lamar Jackson tweeted about it over the weekend, and people were tweeting him, and so, there's all that. But that's not, no offense, that's not real. Like, Lamar Jackson doesn't get to make decisions for the Seahawks. So apparently this all started with Jeremy Fowler from ESPN saying that DK Metcalf can be had at the right price. So that's something. Let me be clear about that. That is something. A legitimate reporter did say that it was possible he could be had at the right price. There's a big difference between had at the right price and actively shopping someone. What's the right price? Is the right price what the Dolphins paid for Tyreek Hill? I'm asking, what is the right price for DK Metcalf?
It kind of seemed like people out in Seattle were souring on him a little bit this past season because he'd kind of disappear in games.
Okay.
But I mean, it really depends on what the right price is to the franchise.
God bless. You know what I mean? Like, people can sour him as much as they want to. The idea that just means that a team's going to give away an asset for the sake of
I don't think anybody's giving. It's just a matter of did the Seahawks sour on him?
What's that?
My point was, did the Seahawks sour on him?
One, I would still say that if he's a problem, if he's someone that's causing issues within your locker room, then yes, you might look to move him at that point. Mm-hmm. But the idea that just because a guy maybe didn't have as good of a second season as his first, or what are we doing the math here? Third season as his second, that you're just going to dump him for the sake of dumping him. You can say, hey, why are you holding on to DK Metcalf? You didn't have a quarterback. Well, presumably you're drafting one. And if you're drafting a quarterback and you're hoping that guy's going to succeed at some point, then I would think that you'd want to have targets around him. And just giving up on players for the sake of giving up on players would be an insane way for any organization to do business. It'd be bat-ass nuts. DK Metcalf is going to come at a price, and a steep price. And I would need to know what that price is before I can have the conversation about whether or not it makes sense for the Ravens. Could it? Yeah, it could. It's absolutely possible that you could end up looking at it and saying, sure, I'd be willing to do that to get DK Metcalf. But without knowing that, just knowing what the going rate for top wide receivers has been, I'm going to guess that's not going to be something the Ravens are going to be interested in doing. They also had the opportunity to draft DK Metcalf once upon a time and didn't choose to do it. And as we know, the Ravens typically like to fall back on their own scouting when they make decisions like this. It's not as if they've never admitted they were wrong. They famously admitted they were wrong about Anquan Bolden when he was coming out in the draft. And they said that. Look, this was an opportunity for us to right a wrong. We screwed up here. We screwed up. Now, they went ahead and screwed up again, but that's a different conversation for a different day. I just this comes off more as we're bored and we wanted something to talk about, and so we decided to talk about DK Metcalf this weekend than anything that's actually legitimate. This comes off way more of there's something happening on Twitter and we want to be involved in the conversation, and because Lamar Jackson got involved in it, we decided to give it some sort of credence. Believe it or not, Lamar Jackson is not the general manager of not only the Baltimore Ravens, he's definitely not the general manager of the Seattle Seahawks. So that's kind of irrelevant at that point. What was the, I'm trying to remember what the Tyreek Hill trade was. It was 5 overall picks, and I'm trying to remember it was.
Didn't they get like a first and second this year?
First for sure this year. I think you're right. I don't know. I wish there was an easy way for me to pull something like this up and just what the exact trade was. I'll let you work on that. And yes, Tyreek Hill is a more overall explosive playmaker. There's no doubt about that. But DK Metcalf at his best, because of his size and speed, is a freakish athlete. It's nuts. There are few humans that look the way that he does when he has no shirt on. I don't think you're giving that away. Did you find it?
Yep. They got first, second, and fourth round picks this year and a fourth and sixth round pick next year.
So some of that is throw in, right? Like it's a package that centers around a first and second, and then.
So they got 29 in the first round and 50th in the second round.
So that's. If the package centered around something like that, I don't know, maybe. 16th pick and a 29th pick are definitely drastically different picks. The Ravens' first-round pick this year is a different pick than the Dolphins' pick that they gave up for Tyreek Hill. It's easier to give up a 29th overall pick in a trade than it is to give up a 16th overall pick. 14th. Sorry, why did I say 16th? 14th. I don't know. I have no idea why I said 16th. 14th overall pick. So, if they're looking for it's got to involve a first, that becomes a bit more difficult. It becomes tougher. Not to say it's not worth doing, or that if it was a first alone, I wouldn't do it. Something along those lines. It is not nearly the same as giving up a 29th overall pick. And you also need to know what is it the DK Metcalf is looking for. He's going to be up for a contract too, right? Mm-hmm. Like, you need to know those things as well. All right, let me get back to the topic at hand. On Saturday night, we all get to experience the joy. There is just nothing that unites us as people, the way that rooting for Duke basketball to lose has united us as people. It has transcended players. There are quite a few of you that couldn't have named a player on the Duke basketball roster that were rooting like hell against Duke on Saturday night, that were enjoying every moment of rooting against Duke. It has nothing to do the handful of people that have decided they're Duke fans because, I guess the easiest way to say is they're bandwagoners, but I'm sure whatever else other reason is that it's not because they have any reason to be a Duke fan. There's like a 2% of Duke fans that have an actual connection to Duke, either because they went there or their parents went there, and everybody else is just somebody that decided they win a lot, so we want to root for them because we want to have a winner to root for. The same way that people root for, the Yankees and Notre Dame and all those things. At least Notre Dame, some people it's a Catholic connection, which makes no sense to me, but at least there's something. There's nothing with Duke. Overwhelmingly, the people that root for Duke have no touch, feel, connection whatsoever with Duke at all. They just decided to root for him.
My grandfather, who died on my birthday, he's tattooed on my arm, he went to Duke. And I have no rooting interest.
He, of course, has great reason to have some sort of connection to Duke. He would have been rare in the people that root for Duke overwhelmingly have no reason. The only reason they have is they were good, and I like rooting for a winner. That's what they've got. We know these people. We are very aware of these people that pretend to be Alabama football fans or pretend to be whatever it is. They exist all over the place. The rest of us take significant joy in rooting against Duke. And on Sunday morning, I had this epiphany, this moment of clarity. I'm sitting there saying to myself, is this it? Will I feel this way next year? Will I ever feel this type of joy again? Or does my joy in rooting against Duke center around Mike Krzyzewski and Mike Krzyzewski alone? Is it really because he's so No one has ever smugged the way Mike Krzyzewski smugs. He is the face. They literally should just run his picture in the dictionary next to the word smug. It would do a far better job of explaining it to anyone than a definition ever could do. You just look at him and you say, oh, God, that guy. That guy. That guy who constantly pauses post-game lines to say to opposing players, you shouldn't have shot that shot at the end of the game. You're better than that. Trying to coach someone else's team. Talking about doing things the right way. Being unwilling to do his own assigned in-game interviews where everybody else in the country is doing it. Being the coach at the school where the athletic director fought tooth and nail against NIL coming to college sports because it would give schools a recruiting advantage. A recruiting advantage. When his coach was doing national commercials, hosting Sirius XM radio shows. How dare anyone else perhaps get a recruiting advantage? The Smug, the place where they continue to play their games at a facility unfit. And I make this abundantly clear, that facility is unfit for high-level sporting events. It is akin to deciding to play a significant sporting event at the old Towson Center. In fact, the amenities at the Towson Center are far better than the facility they have at Duke. But it's so scary important. We're Duke basketball. This is Cameron Indoor Stadium. We have to keep doing this. And sure, if you want to come cover the game, you're going to have to get blue face paint all over you because we're going to allow the students to literally breathe upon your neck. But you should be grateful because you get to come to a game at our facility. It is the height of smug. The douchebag Duke fans are like, you're just a Maryland fan who hates. No, Chief, everybody hates. Everyone. It's smug. And yes, have they won 5 national championships? 1,000%. They've won 5 national championships. No one's debating that. I'd love to, but it's impossible. You can't do it. It's a statement of fact. Will we ever feel the same way? Does this joy that we've experienced in our lives, go away? We all remember John Shire and the stupid face, and we all remember Maryland fans printing out copies of him making the dumb face, and that was quite pleasant, and that was a fun thing. But that's the extent of what we know about John Shire. He fits into Duke culture, the sort of weird-looking white kid that was kind of good at basketball, but not really all that good at basketball, and got propped up because they went to Duke. And so, yes, if we have an inclination, it's probably to dislike him. But it ain't the same.
Not yet.
Couldn't possibly be. There's also the chance that Mike Krzyzewski will be like Roy Williams. We'll keep going to all the games, and we'll just be sitting there like in the third row. And every time the game comes on, you look up and you're like, oh, right, you. I remember you. I hate you. Yeah, I remember now. I hate this. But I think it will not feel the same way. I don't think we will be able to take the same joy of Duke losing in the NCAA tournament. It was the best things that can happen in the NCAA tournament were your team, your bracket, and Duke losing. It would just give you a feeling that you could only compare to literally winning your bracket, which, by the way, Susan Johnson, we'll talk about that tomorrow, but she's clinched it. She picked Kansas there. It's over. Nobody picked Carolina, so nobody can overcome her. The contest is over. We'll talk about that tomorrow. Bummer for me. I went from first place to out of the money within the span of one game. Real bummer for me. But, hey, it's what happens. All that matters is we raise money for charity. And Susan, in fact, I think, wants to donate some more money to charity because that's a very swell thing for her to do. I don't think that if Duke loses to Auburn in the NCAA tournament next year, it's going to feel the same way. I think we'll always remember what it felt like in the past, and that'll sort of rekindle something in us. We'll be like, yeah, Duke losing, right. We like that. But I just don't think it can possibly be the same. I think Mike Krzyzewski was the face of it. He was the transcendent figure that allowed us to continue to hate Duke in such a passionate way that we could all embrace it as Americans, as a people, and I just don't think that'll continue.
So I agree that I think that Mike Krzyzewski was the face of it all, but there are so many times where I thought Duke was maybe a top 15 team, but because they're Duke, we enabled this entitlement, and we would put the coaches poll and the AP poll puts them in the top 5 because they're Duke, even though they probably weren't good enough, and it enabled that sense of entitlement from Duke. So maybe seeing them come back down to earth a little bit and not get that rating that maybe they don't deserve will be kind of
will make it less fun. You wouldn't enjoy it as much because part of what you enjoyed was the fact they were getting their due comeuppance, and they don't need comeuppance if they're no longer being falsely elevated.
Well, but I also think you get joy out of seeing them not be rated as highly. Like these kids that go there, like, we're Duke, we have this sense of entitlement. Well, now you're being brought back down to earth with the rest of us peasants down beneath you. Welcome to our world type of thing.
Chris says, of course I'll keep rooting against them. Their fans are worse than their former coach or players, and they aren't going anywhere. And I do think that's a relevant argument, right? Like, these douchebag fans that I've talked about, these people that have no connection, you say they're not going anywhere, but I'm not sure if that's true either. I don't think it will take much. If Duke takes even a half step backwards, these people have no actual connection to Duke.
Right.
None. It will not be difficult for them to decide that they want to instead embrace something else. Like, they could wake up tomorrow and decide they love Villanova. They could wake up tomorrow and decide they're all on Gonzaga. They could do whatever they want to do because they have no tangible connection to Duke. So I do think it'll take a while for that to occur. But and your point might be for the next 5 years, the Duke thing, the aura will still exist. And the fans being such douchebags will make it easier for us to take joy in their misery. And so I think that plays in some way. I think there's something to be said for that. If they continue to win under John Shire, again, I think it'll all stay right there. I think there's no doubt about that. From Paul and Ovi Lando, Duke equals the Celtics that I grew up disliking in the 80s. An inordinate amount of white players that all seemingly come off as privileged punks. Even before Mike Krzyzewski, they had a white player named Kenny Denard. I remember Kenny Denard. That undercut Buck Williams in the ACC tournament final, and the foul wasn't called. It cost Terps the game. I remember it wholeheartedly. Well, I don't remember it, but I'm very familiar. It's not true. I don't actually remember it. Far too young. But I'm very familiar with the story. I don't think that a lot of this predates Mike Krzyzewski, though. I think it's going to be very rare for you to find someone whose Duke hate predates Mike Krzyzewski. They just weren't relevant enough. They didn't matter at that level for it to be indoctrinated into anybody else that way. Plus, we have to go back so far in order to think of the majority of people. If you are under the age of 45, there's no chance. Like, there's just no chance that you have any hate that predates Mike Krzyzewski. Right. And it's still rare for even people older than the age of 45. From Lewis, maybe we can shift it towards rallying around hating the Houston Astros for all of their cheating. No is the answer. It's not the same thing. You're trying to compare it. You're trying to compare what people believe is a tangible reason for hating an organization to a bunch of kind of intangible things. There aren't suddenly fans of the Houston Astros that pop up all over the place. They didn't become some sort of pop culture thing. There's no comparison between the Houston Astros and Duke basketball. The Houston Astros are a pimple on the ass. No offense. I mean, like, they matter still because they win, right? But, like, they are not a relevant national brand that exists, and they're force-fed down your throat at all times, and the sport capitulates to them in every way. You want to still be mad about the sign-stealing thing? Be mad all you want about it, but comparing it to Duke basketball? Come on, dude. The Yankees are Duke basketball, of course. They're the team that is forced down your throat no matter what's going on. They matter. The sport doesn't matter. That's a real thing. The Astros, not similar.
Not to mention the vast majority of Major League Baseball teams at that same time were stealing signs.
And that's a different, I've had that conversation a billion times. It's a different conversation for me. It's why I couldn't root, I just don't root against them the way that you guys do. I found nothing during the course of, I like Dusty Baker. I kind of wanted to see him win, frankly. I admitted that. There was a part of me that was like, I kind of want to see the guy win a World Series because I like Dusty Baker, and I just don't get worked up the way that you guys do about the sign stealing thing because everybody else was stealing signs, man.
I never cared over the top about it.
I could never bring myself to do that. But that's a different conversation about the signs. That's not really about the topic at hand. From Dave. Dave says, Glenn, I think it's going to take at least a couple of years for us to figure out what Duke basketball is post-John Shire. In the meantime, I think there continues to be a grace period for truly hating Duke. If they ultimately end up being bad, if he cannot sustain the level that Mike Krzyzewski had, then I think it will become easier for us to let that go. I don't know if letting that go is a fair way of saying it. It'd be easier for us to let that go at that point. Maybe. Maybe. I don't know that it'll ever be easy for us to let it go fully. I don't know if that'll ever be the case. But, it won't be the same. And that's where I think it is. I do think that what your point is well taken, which is it won't be the same. Continue to get me your responses to this at Glenn Clark Radio. I want to keep talking about it throughout the course of the morning. Hey, just a reminder that you should know the risks and have a plan before you start gambling. For free and confidential services, call 1-800-GAMBLER or go to helpmygambling.problem.org. National championship game is tonight down in New Orleans. Our next guest is in New Orleans working for Westwood One. He was on the call for the Final Four for their Spanish broadcast, and he'll be on the call again tonight for the title game. He is, of course, one of the greatest players in Maryland basketball history, and it's always a thrill to welcome back to the program the general himself. He is Greivis Vasquez, and he's with us now here on GCR. Greivis, it's Glenn and Paul back in Maryland. It's so great to chat with you as always, my friend. Thank you for taking a couple of minutes for us.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I'm excited. Wish I can go back soon, and I'm really having a great time here in the Final Four.
Plus you're in New Orleans. That's your town still, right? Don't they still, people walk around and say, hey, man, we love you, right? Aren't you still a big deal down there?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
That's awesome.
It's amazing to be back here. My son was born here, so
that's cool, man.
This city is a very special city to me.
That's really cool. I'm still bitter. It didn't work out. Greivis is such a good dude that when the Ravens were in the Super Bowl back in 2013, he had messaged us a couple weeks earlier. He was like, hey, man, you guys can come hang out with me while you're down here. Then of course, it sucked. The Pelicans were on the road the whole week. It was a real bummer that it worked out that way.
Yeah.
Oh, man, it was so nice of you to offer that, though. Greivis, it's great to catch up with you, man. Let me pose it to you this way, right? You're a broadcaster now. You got a job to do. You got to call things down the line. I understand that. But we also know that you had some legendary battles with Duke over the years. How the rest of us react when Duke loses, and when we get to see that, it's like it's like winning our own national championship, right? We are so happy to watch it. Is there any part of you that still had any of that feeling on Saturday night when they go out? Okay, yeah, I know I'm not supposed to say it out loud, but it's still Duke basketball that we're talking about. I'm still happy to see him lose.
Well, life changed, and then now I'm 35 years old. I love the game of basketball, and to me, it was quite an honor playing against Duke and Coach K, and going through the whole context of this Final Four, and having Coach K retire, and watching probably the best or the most interesting rivalry between Duke and Carolina, and to me, talking about being a broadcaster is the best rivalry in sport in America. I mean, you can talk about Yankees and Yankee Boston, and they don't have enough games played like these two teams, these two programs have played. And just watching the game live, if you love basketball, I mean, you wanted the whole story to be different, but a lot of credit to UNC because to me they already won a national championship. Why? Because they beat Duke when he hurt the most. They beat Duke at the last home game for Coach K. They beat Duke at the ACC tournament in the final, and they beat Duke in the Final Four. I mean, what kind of pressure they have to play tonight? To me, no pressure at all. On the other hand, what a tremendous career for Coach K, and you always gotta respect your rival. Your rival. I went to I went to Maryland. I love my school. Uh, Maryland gave me everything, and basically because of Maryland, I went up to the NBA. But I tell you this, it was really really cool interviewer John Shire competing against him, and now having a friend relationship and seeing him progress as a head coach of the University of Duke is something else, you know. And at this point of my life, as much as I hated Duke, uh, I was I mean I was unbelievable thankful for the days of when I beat them and they
Yeah,
beat
man.
me, and when we competed against each other. So it was a quiet day on Saturday, and I mean I saw a lot of history, and it was 70,000 people in the building while I was calling the game and in Spanish through Westwood One, and it was one of those days where I was so proud to be involved with basketball.
I mean, I look. There'll be Maryland fans that will hate that would just rather you say no, I hate them. But I get everything you're saying, and I appreciate the fact that you have such reverence and respect for those matchups and how much they meant to you, and interesting to see the way that it goes moving forward. The other thing that you said in there, Greivis, that was really interesting to me. Do you worry at all about a letdown for Carolina? Like having done everything that went into that. I mean, this was the game of the century, right? Do you at all worry that they couldn't possibly be up for tonight the way that they were for that game?
I mean, totally. I underestimate North Carolina because I'm based in Miami, and I watched the game. I went to the game when they played the University of Miami, and it was a horrible game for them. They lost by 20. And if you would have asked me, oh, you think UNC is gonna make the tournament? I was like, no. I mean, what a different program. Hubert Davis looked rare on the sideline coaching UNC. I'm used to see Roy Williams, and then all of a sudden, a week before the tournament started, they made the tournament and they won the ACC tournament, and now they in the Final Four. And I was talking about previous to the game on Saturday. I was like, I had experience playing against Duke when I beat them, and I was talking highly of myself, and then all of a sudden the following day they beat us by 30 in national television. I'll never forget that. Like I said like I was gonna play in my house.
Yeah, I remember it well.
In there. And then Coach William almost killed me because I put my team in a tough situation, and that was a rookie mistake for me. And then I remember that. So on Saturday I was like, no way. I mean, I don't see Carolina beating Duke. I mean, knowing Coach K and the way he prepared his team, and the way he deal with obstacles, I thought Duke was gonna beat them by 10. But on the other hand, Duke such a young program. I mean, such a young roster with a lot of freshmen and sophomore. Their best player, Paolo Banquero, is a freshman.
Yep.
I mean, probably number one pick in the NBA draft. So those guys, they have to handle so much pressure throughout the whole year that it was Coach K was right. It wasn't really about him. It was about his players and how he can protect his player from what happened on Saturday, and unfortunately they lost. And once again, you have to give Coach Hubert Davis a lot of credit. He changed the UNC program, and how he changed it. You're talking about primary break and secondary break offensively. They don't have the secondary break, and that often was installed by the legendary coach Dean Smith. So you're talking about he changed all the system offensively which he loved a lot. I mean, Carolina plays a lot of pick and roll. It's like an NBA program. They play a lot of pick and roll. He's doing things that you don't see Carolina done in the past. And I'm not saying he's wrong because he's in the Final Four. He's playing to win a national championship
Right.
tonight.
Right.
So I give credit to Coach Davis for what a job he has done. Unbelievable. And the way he's handling himself, talking to the media, and honestly, if you ask me about the game tonight, Kansas is the best team, but Duke was the best team, and UNC find a way to beat them. So UNC has been the underdog in this Final Four, and I don't know whether Armando Backup is gonna be back because I saw his ankle getting sprained. He really hurt his ankle. He was limping yesterday, and not having Armando Backup for the game is gonna really be hurtful for to UNC.
He had 1,000 rebounds on Saturday. My God, he was
21 rebounds.
It was
man.
nuts, man.
He dominated
it was
the
nuts. And look, he says he's going to play tonight, but to your point, Greivis, how effective is he, right? Like, can he play at that level given what he's dealing with? We're going to have to find that out. Greivis Vasquez is with us. He's calling the title game tonight, the Spanish broadcast for Westwood One. Greivis, so what does tonight come down to for you? Like, what does this game, the team that wins tonight will win because what?
Well, I think it's going to be an unbelievable game. If you talk about Bill Self and the University of Kansas, they done a tremendous job. I said it even before the first game. I mean, Kansas is the most talented team out there. They well balanced in terms of roster, unbelievable, well coached, and you got to give credit to Bill Self. So I think Kansas have to do something tonight. They have to run out of the gym to beat UNC. I think UNC is a little tired, and we'll see how Armando Backup, his factor and his presence is going to be important. But if you want to win this game and you Kansas, you just run like your life depends on it. You have to run. You have to outrun them. And to me, that's the major key for Kansas. I mean, they play fast. One thing they did different in the first game, they were hitting threes. They shot around 50% or a little less, and that's unusual. That's out of character for them. I mean, they don't hit that many threes. I mean, throughout the tournament, they played Providence, and they shot really poorly from the three-point line. Same thing against University of Miami. So you're talking about if they hit the three and they running and being fast, I think it's going to be hard for UNC to beat them. But like I say, in the other hand, you don't know what to expect. Because one thing about playing basketball or one thing about doing anything in life, if you don't have any pressure and you're talented, you're probably going to have a better chance to win. And I think Carolina is not having any type of pressure. Everyone was talking about Duke. Everyone was talking about the first game. But no one thought about Carolina. And like I say, they already won a national championship. They be probably one of the best or the best coach as of right now in college basketball. And they beat him 3 times when he hurt the most. So you're talking about rivalry. They already done a tremendous job. So I think they come out tonight playing their basketball. They're going to give us the best. Hopefully Armando Backup will be on the floor so he can be the best Final Four we can ever watch.
I hope so, too. I really hope so, too. It gives you a far better game if you got everybody out there. All right, Greivis. Have you had a chance? Like, do you know anything yet about Kevin Willard? Have you asked anybody about him? Have you attempted to maybe make contact in any way? And what do you make of the future of the Maryland basketball program with Kevin Willard as coach?
Well, I finally see. Well, first of all, I saw Coach Manning last night. We were at this event for Westwood One, and I thank him for what a tremendous job taking leadership at the toughest time of our program.
No doubt.
You have to be thankful. Same thing. I want to thank Coach Sturgeon for what he has done for our program. I think you guys know me. It hurts when we don't see success in Maryland basketball, and I don't think it was really his fault. Coach Sturgeon is a great coach. He just never match up the personality and the passion that Maryland needs. And what Gary, I mean, Gary plays a tremendous role, and I think we never really accepted him, and he really didn't accept us because it was never a balance, and I don't blame him. I don't blame him at all, and I think he done a tremendous job dealing with a lot, and it wasn't really his fault. But he got to take responsibility. I think he's a great man with a great family. Put a lot of NBA players.
Sure.
But we never won. We never won games that matter.
Yep.
And it was hard. It was painful for everybody. So I think I take responsibility. I'm part of the University of Maryland. You have to take responsibility because you got to hire somebody that match up the personality, the passion, that understand what it takes to coach Maryland, and you got to put Gary Williams, the GOAT, the best coach I ever coached, in my opinion, the best school in the world, which is the University of Maryland. So I think Kevin Willard, in terms of passion, in terms of fire, he match up that for our school. So hopefully he does a good job. One thing they got to do, and this is to everyone at our school, we have to come back together. We have to bring everyone together again. Former players, everyone. I think they gotta get us more. They gotta get us more involved. And I know one of the assistant coaches, Tony Skin. He is a good friend of mine. He was trying to reach out to me, and I think we gotta figure out a way to make this about school and to be more unified and understand that it's irritating not being in the tournament and not doing things proper for a basketball program. I think I wasn't really involved, but I'm going to be more involved from now on. I mean, my alma mater means so much to me and my family, and put me in a situation where I can feed my kids and help others. So I think Coach Wheeler has a tremendous responsibility, and we're all going to be watching. There's no pressure at all, but we want to have success. These coaches are getting paid to get a job done. You know what I mean? You get your job done, and get us back on top. Get us back at the best level of basketball we can be, and get everyone involved. I think when you have that job, you have to fulfill your leadership, and you're getting paid for it. It's not like you're doing this for free.
Right.
So if you're getting paid for it, you have to be able to do the best job. And I went to Maryland a couple times. I know we're doing a lot of different things around the school, a lot of infrastructure. We're remodeling a lot of things on campus. But it's time for us to start winning some basketball games. And I say that because I care. And like I say, I take responsibility as well. I think I have to be more involved, and I have to go back more.
Wow.
And I think Coach Willer is the right man for the job. So hopefully he gets it done.
Boy, Maryland fans are going to love hearing you say that, Greivis Vasquez. They want to have you involved as much as they could possibly have you here. Let me, if I could, and I'll wrap with this. Is there any advice that you would have, for a new coach? You talk about the personality being a fit, but what does it take beyond that in order to succeed at a place like Maryland? You guys obviously, you want to share the ACC, and my God, I get chills when I think about the name Corey Lucius because what you guys could have done that year.
Oh my God,
yeah,
don't say that.
I'm sorry. But you know what it takes to succeed at a place like Maryland. What would you tell, Tony Skinn, David Cox, or Kevin Willard about what it's going to take to get Maryland basketball back to that place and to stay at that place and constantly succeeding?
It's simple. It's very simple. Life is simple. You gotta keep it simple, man. You gotta know KYP. You gotta know your personnel. When I say KYP, I say what's Maryland, what's the University of Maryland, what's the personality, what is our identity, what is our DNA, and we are passionate. We're emotional. We express our emotion by playing basketball, playing football, playing soccer. One of the best soccer programs in the nation.
No question.
Always competed in football. In every sport. You're talking about hockey, lacrosse. We we are a school that whenever anyone talk about us, they talk about fire. They talk about we care. We express a lot throughout our emotions, and first you have to match that. Second thing, you got to do what you do best. That's what you're getting paid for. You got to coach basketball. You got to get a group of guys that can play well together and win some basketball games. You have to I will say plant the seed in terms of confidence. One thing that Coach Williams did at a high level, he made players like C players, meaning like not really talented players or
Mm-hmm.
not really the high profile players, into NBA players.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And one of them is me. You talk about Steve Blake. You talk about Juan Dixon. You're talking about players that
Yeah, you guys weren't McDonald's All-Americans.
exactly players that did an unbelievable job, taking advantage of the opportunity. I mean, if you're gonna bring the high-profile players, which is part of the game, it's part of your job, then make it play together as a team. Because one thing we did well my 4 years of school and previous of my 4 years, when you watch a history of Maryland basketball, we were a family, we were a team, and to me, that's the hashtag. We are family. If we act like it and we walk like it, I think we're gonna be fine. The biggest thing is, I don't think and I say this with a tremendous responsibility. In the last few years, I haven't seen my family being together. Everyone is spread out. It's not connection between all of us. And like I say, I'm not making anyone responsible. I
Yep.
put myself first in the list. Like, everyone have to be together. Tough time don't last, but tough people do. So I thought we just don't doing a good job by being together, by keeping the family tie, by working hard in our relationship. And believe it or not, that's part of winning. Those little details are important. Bring everyone back. Get everyone involved. You know what I mean? We want to know what's going on. And I think everything is so hidden, and we haven't really been involved on anything. No one really called me when, and I'm not saying that I expecting a call because I'm not the most
No,
important
but
thing.
you're an important person, bro. You don't have to apologize for this. There should definitely be contact, man. Like, you want to have a highly successful as Len Elmore said to me, they never hire an assistant coach at Duke who's not an alum, right? Like, and it's been
Man, that's another thing. Yes, you're right. I mean, talking to John Shire,
right.
and you're talking to John Shire, a good friend of mine, competed against him. What a level of respect we have for each other. I mean, you're talking about, like, there's no one from Maryland out there. You know what I mean?
Yep.
There's no one like really with Maryland blood. And like I say, it's just something for future reference. If we're not gonna be there, at least get us involved. You know what I mean? And more so to be respectful, because you have to respect the game and you have to respect people. For this instant, for this moment, let's just have Coach Willard do what he does best. Let's give him an opportunity. And I'm willing. You know why? Because it's not about Greivis. It's not about Juan. It's not about Steve Blake. It's not about the former players. It's about the University of Maryland. It's about our basketball program. And that is the boss. So whatever our basketball programs need, that's what we have to do. And in order for us to do that, that's gonna help us to win games. That's gonna help us. I was telling coaches last night. I said I wish I can call again in Spanish for my alma mater in English and in the Final Four. You know what I mean? Like, I want to see my team back. I mean, I gotta do my part too, and that's why I say, like, hey, I'm willing. I'm willing to pay the price. I'm tired of, like, through all these years, like, everyone just being spread out, and bring us back, and bring us back together.
Brother, you got us ready to run through a brick wall right now, the way you're talking about this, man. You are fired up, and that passion is real. Oh, man, that is incredible. Greivis, is there anything else we can plug for you, man? You always have so many wonderful things that you're doing for your people, and I know how much you mean to everybody in Venezuela. Is there anything you got going on that we can plug for you besides tuning in tonight for the Spanish broadcast of the title game with Westwood One?
No, man. I mean, the biggest thing is, like, I want Maryland back in the map. That's the biggest thing. I help a lot of my people. My people can wait right now. I want to be more involved with the school that gave me a chance to be who I am as of right now, and that's the biggest thing to me. Like whenever I watch college basketball and working in the Final Four, just make me itchy of when I'm gonna see my school back here. Well, I mean, when is it gonna be again the Maryland basketball we always saw when back in those days and obviously, and I say this, and I'm gonna say it for the rest of my life until I die. I mean, Coach Williams, thank you. Gary was my kind of like my stepdad, and it still is. We still have contact. What he has done for the school. I mean, if you ask me, hopefully the directors and everyone on top understand that Coach Williams should be leading basketball, whether it's on the floor. No, he won't be able to do that right now, but off the floor,
Yeah.
you gotta keep him involved. You gotta help. You gotta give him the lead for him to make decisions. And to me, I'm sure like I am Greivis. I don't know whether he wants it or not, but I think if somebody should be making decisions, it should be Gary. You know what I mean? Because he earned it, and we gotta respect that. Like I say, we need to see more people from Maryland sitting on that bench.
But I'd be remiss if
our kids.
Greivis, I'd be remiss because a couple people brought it up. There is still another assistant spot that needs to be filled, and we know that you did dip your toe into coaching. Is that something you'd be interested in? Is it something that you'd want to do?
Well, like I'm almost honest and one face. I mean, I would love to, but if I don't get it, which I think I won't get it, not because I'm not good enough. Maybe I'm not really. I don't really have the time as of right now because everything I'm doing.
Sure.
But at least a phone call, you know what I mean?
Yep.
Hey,
Yep. Let's
are you
talk
willing
about
to coach?
it. Yeah.
I mean, are you willing? I think that's out of respect and everything I have done for my school. I think that's something that I don't think we're doing a good job, and we got to start from there. But like I say, I'm good friend with Tony Skin.
Yep.
I think Tony was trying to reach out to me. He spoke to a few friends, and I think knowing Tony, he's from the area, play at George Mason. I mean, he's gonna bring that passion. I remember playing against him pickup games. So, but things have to be done right, and I think we haven't done things the right way. And that also that is not related with basketball. That's just making decisions, proper decisions, directing everything out off the court, and that's why it's hurting us. I mean, you gotta respect the game. You gotta respect people that was there, and I think by not counting on them or just just a simple phone call is just gonna hurt us. You gotta be pay attention to little details, and I believe in that. I believe in that, and I say this with all respect. I mean. What about Eric Hayes? What about Dino Gregory? What about Landon Mill? What about Sean Mosley? Those guys, get them involved.
I'm with
or
you.
Even Steve Lake, Juan Dixon. Man, maybe Juan didn't want to take a job because I know Juan maybe wanted to be a head coach, and rightfully so. You have aspirations, and I understand the process and the filter and all that stuff, but keep us involved because we care about our school.
Greivis, I need you to apologize to the folks at Westwood One for me. I made you late to a meeting today, and I'm so sorry about that. But I just didn't want to stop you because you were fired up this morning, brother. It's always so good to catch up with you, and love to hear your passion, man. Let's chat again soon, and enjoy the title game tonight. Thank you for taking the time for us this morning.
No, thank you guys. Much love.
Appreciate you. Greivis Vasquez, one of the greatest players in Maryland basketball history, and whew, there was a lot there, man. I mean, there was a lot there. Boy, you could hear something. We touched something this morning with Greivis Vasquez where he's 1,000% right. I'd like a phone call. I mean, I feel like I've deserved that. Mm-hmm. He doesn't have a lot of it. He coached a little bit with the Pelicans G League team a couple years ago in Erie, and he's 100% right. We make it seem trivial, right? And Len was the first to bring this to my attention. Len was like, "Look, man, look at how they do things at Duke. It's always former players. And somebody would say, okay, well, they've had more success over the years, right? Like, there's more of a group to maybe call into. But the way that it matters, that we are the representatives, that when you come here, you understand there's a place for you.
Mm-hmm.
That this doesn't go away because a coach changes, because this is, you use that word family, and you could say it's trite, but let's just throw it out there. That family word matters. I don't think that's nothing.
And you have prominent players who are in coaching, like Juan Dixon, the Greivis Vasquez.
And look, Juan was an assistant, obviously, at Maryland. They they gave Juan that opportunity. He parlayed that into a head coaching job. So, like, and by the way, that I think is also supposed to be part of the concept, right? Like, when you're out recruiting, you want to be able to say to a kid, hey, if you get into this and you decide that you want coaching to be your path, we're a place that gives you opportunities to come back. We can't guarantee it to you because you only have 3 assistant coaches at any one time. Mm-hmm. But look at how we do things. We give guys that want to do this chances to come back and be a part of the program and learn and perhaps become head coaches themselves. Juan Dixon should be the example of that.
You're part of this college long after you graduate.
Right. That we will have your back and we will give you those opportunities. Keith Booth got that chance. Juan Dixon got that chance. Dave Dickerson got that chance. But it's a small group that we're talking about of legitimate players that Matt Kovarik, I guess, got that opportunity. He wasn't certainly a player the way they were. But, like, it's a very small group of players that have gotten that chance to come back and be coaches. And to Greivis' point, it wouldn't surprise me. Eric Hayes was the son of a coach, right? Like, it wouldn't surprise me. What? Maybe was he the son of? Oh, Steve Blake was the son of a coach. I got to think of Eric Hayes. I feel like there was coaching in Eric Hayes' background. Maybe I'm wrong about that, so I apologize in advance. But there absolutely have to be other guys that would be interested in that. Taj Holden, of course, went to coach, I think, Monmouth was where he was. There are plenty of guys that would love the opportunity to come back and be a part of it. Make a phone call. Find out. There should be at least one spot on your staff that could be available to a former player to help be part of this connection between the program and the past.
Right.
And, to Greivis' point, look, it might not work out for me because of time, the other things I got going on. Being an assistant basketball coach might not be the spot for me. But let's talk about it. Let's find out. Maybe it is. Maybe there is a role in which I could help out and be a part of this. And if not, at least the phone call could go a long way towards more involvement, towards being a part of what it is that we're doing and helping out with you and trying to get more kids and helping to keep the community fired up about Maryland basketball and supportive and things along those lines. And yes, that's not as important as getting really good players and winning.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's always going to be the most important thing. But I don't think it can be dismissed as part of the solution either.
He's clearly dying to be a part of the program, and it can help you get better players when they see those, to your point earlier, when you see former players who were stars there, they're coming back, they want that same path as well. I think that helps you get better players if you bring back your past stars and make them part of what you're trying to do.
Yeah, it's a reminder to everybody. Like, however this works out for you, there's always a place for you here.
Yeah.
However this ends up working out for you, whatever you do going forward as a player, there will always be a place for you here to be involved. And it's not as if there are no alums that are involved. I want to make that very clear, right? Like, Walt Williams, of course, is involved with radio, and there are other alums that are involved with the university, but it's not like it is at other places. At other places, it's constant, right? Here, it's more fleeting. It's more, like Lonnie Baxter lives in the area now, and we didn't see him at a Maryland game for like 15 years after he left. It took forever for us to just see him at a game again. You'd like for there to be more of a connection.
I love hearing Steve Suter on the football calls.
Sure.
I used to watch him. He was one of my favorite players. I love hearing him back in the booth.
That's a good thing. And look, Walt Williams is part of it, so it's not like they don't do that. But the idea that there should be more involvement, again, we can say it's trivial, and we wouldn't be wrong to say it's trivial because it's more important to get really good players. It's more important to coach really well. Mm-hmm. If Carolina wins tonight, it'll probably have more to do with the job that Hubert Davis has done than it does have to do with their connection with their former players, right? But I don't think we can dismiss it either. I don't think we can dismiss it as nothing, and I think Greivis, speaking about it so emotionally is appreciated because I think sometimes you need a kind of a kick in the ass to say, look, what are we doing? Get on the phone. I like Kevin Willard. I'm inclined to like him. He did a good job at the press conference. Obviously, we had a great interview with him. He comes off as a likable guy. Get on the phone. Greivis Vasquez is a dynamic, beloved figure within this community. He was one of the most joyful, not just because he was good, but the style with which he played was so pleasant and enjoyable. He's a beloved figure. Get on the phone. Make the call. He wants the call. You're not going to annoy him. Make the call. Make the connection. Establish that moving forward. We're running late. Jeremy Conn's going to join us here in a minute. We do need to get a break. We have to get a break. Today's show is also brought to you by the Baltimore Police Department. Join a proud new generation of Baltimore police and make an active difference in your community. Start with competitive wages and excellent benefits on day one. Join for good at bpdrecruit.org. Jeremy's next, Glenn Clark Radio. Sports fans, the wait is over. The all-new FanDuel Sportsbook is now open at Live Casino and Hotel in Hanover, Maryland. This is your chance to win big right in your own backyard. Bet on every sport with self-service kiosks and watch all of the action from the best seat in the house. Make every moment more at the all-new FanDuel Sportsbook at Live Casino and Hotel in Hanover. Please play responsibly. Gambling problem? Please call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit mdgamblinghelp.org.
That first sip. That first bite. Start your day off right with a delicious breakfast at Royal Farms. Choose from a fantastic selection of fresh Royal Farms breakfast sandwiches and top it off with a rich hot cup of the freshest coffee in the world. At Royal Farms, breakfast is available day and night. It's the freshest breakfast in the world. Real fresh, real fast. Royal Farms.
Gambling can be a fun and entertaining experience, but there are risks involved. If you're planning on betting on the game at the casino or on your phone or computer, know your limit, stay within it. Set a budget and a time to stop. Remember, gambling isn't a financial solution, and it doesn't mix well with alcohol or drugs. Know the risks and have a plan before you begin gambling. For free and confidential services, call 1-800-GAMBLER 24/7 or go to helpmygamblingproblem.org.
Come in for Glory Burgers, Glory Wings. There's glory for everyone at Glory Days Grill. Enjoy the award-winning burgers, ribs, and wings, or try our fresh salads, hand-cut salmon, or our scrumptious sandwiches. Yum! Come in for daily specials every weekday, like $7.99 burgers on Mondays, $6.99 nachos on Thursdays, and Taco Tuesdays. And watch all of your favorite games at Glory Days Grill with 25 screens and private speakers at every table, plus game day drink specials. Visit us at glorydaysgrill.com for a location near you. Glory Days Grill. Great food, good sports.
The newest edition of Press Box is available now. On the cover, we celebrate the 20th anniversary of Maryland men's basketball's 2002 NCAA Tournament Championship, as Gary Williams reflects on how the program rose from the ashes of NCAA sanctions to the pinnacle of the sport, and why his perspective of the title run has changed now 2 decades later. Plus, Juan Dixon, Lonnie Baxter, and the rest of the team relive the moments that ultimately led them to cutting down the nets in Atlanta. Press Box is available for free at over 500 area locations, including 60 Royal Farms stores. And you can always find the entire edition, as well as the best daily coverage of the Orioles, Ravens, and Terps at PressBoxOnline.com.
The Toyota Tacoma comes in a wide range of models and trim lines. You can choose the perfect Toyota to reflect your unique personality and driving habits. Check out buyatoyota.com for deals on new Tacomas from your local Toyota dealer today.
If you miss anything, don't forget that you can find whole shows later on Spotify, Apple, or Amazon Podcasts. It's Glenn Clark Radio.
Phew, still sort of recovering from that just fire. It felt like Greivis Vasquez took us to church this morning. Appreciate him taking the time for us here on GCR as we continue in hour number 2 of the program. Today's show also brought to you by Simply the Bets, where we will be back tomorrow morning, 11:40 a.m., start putting the Masters sort of in vision for this week. Simply the Bets every Tuesday morning, 11:40 a.m., as we chat with Aaron Oster from VSiN out in Vegas, as well as Bruce Billick, the general manager of the FanDuel Sportsbook at Live Casino and Hotel. And we will also have a Thursday edition of Weekend at Bookies for you this week, Thursday morning at 11:40 a.m., All that coming up this week, Simply the Bets and Weekend at Bookies. See how this man fared at his bookies this weekend. He, of course, is our buddy from the Big Bad Morning Show, 105.7 The Fan, and you see his picks every day, PressBoxOnline.com. What's going on, Jeremy Conn?
I couldn't just stop thinking about simply the bet.
That's exactly
that's more than the rest. Yeah, something like that.
That was the concept. And by the way, I would be willing to redo the open of the show to you performing.
I would sing it too if you want me to.
I swear to God, if you do that, if you go in tomorrow and you send me that, I will play it every week to open the show.
Change the words. I'll drag it out to make it just as horrible as I possibly could.
That's what I need in my life. That is what I've been waiting for, is Jeremy Conn singing a show open. I'm pretty sure at that point I just say I've made it. I think I just retire because it gets no better than that.
And then I'll have to follow up with the Panic at the Disco. Hey, look, Ma, we made it. It's just going to be
done.
It's just going to new career for me.
Done. I love everything about it.
So last week I was.
Oh. Yes.
Last week I was trying to look up something random and funny to me anyway.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've noticed I have a slight lisp.
Okay.
And I was in the car and I was trying to look up stuff from Simply the Bets as I was coming here, so I'm using voice to text.
Uh-huh.
And I'm talking Simply the Bets.
But it just keeps
on Google, and it kept searching Simply the Bet.
Simply
the Beth.
Real rough.
And I couldn't get it to not search Simply the Beth, and it was pissing me off.
You know, Mike Tyson said he had the exact same problem when he was trying to look up Simply the Beth.
It's funny because I could just imagine how hilarious and frustrating that is all at the same time.
Correct.
I'm literally like, are you kidding me? And it happened like 5 times more before I just said,
did you slow it down and go Simply the Beth?
Yes, and it still went Simply the Beth. I was like, get the hell out of here.
The ironic part is I believe that Jeremy has been subscribing to Simply the Beth on OnlyFans for about 6 months now.
It's so good.
Oh man! All right, how was your weekend? How'd you do? How'd the Final Four treat you?
I got to be honest, and I said it on my show today that March Madness, this is the worst March Madness I've ever had. And look, you can look at the picks and see it. It's been, as I call it, a very public tournament, meaning that look, I'm a fade the public guy. The money's going one way, I'm going the opposite way. And I'm not telling you, look, Vegas is always going to win money, and you got to understand with a 10% vig on most bets. That helps alleviate some of the stress if you have 70% of the public betting on one side. You always are going to have some sort of money coming in, even if you're sending out money. So it offsets some of the losses. But with this tournament in specific, like this weekend, everybody bet Kansas, everybody bet UNC. I would say everybody, but the higher percentage. And sure enough, didn't work out. You go back to the round before that. St. Peter's run finally runs out. But the fact of the matter is, people were betting them on the money line after they won the first week, just hoping it happened. And sure enough, they go on this amazing run and start beating teams that, in my opinion, they had no business even being in the game with. But yeah, it hasn't been a very good March Madness. And the other thing is, be careful at the end of the season with the NBA, because you got teams that are obviously tanking and teams that are trying to win. As I was looking at something, the Brooklyn Nets playing the Cavaliers coming up this week. I got to see the date that it's actually happened, because there's 3 games left. The Cavaliers game is the most important to them. They have to win it. If they win that, they're guaranteed a 7th or 8th seed, which would be better than being in the 9th or 10th, obviously, with how the thing's constructed.
Meanwhile, the Phoenix Suns, who have already locked everything up, have played like dog do for the last couple of games. So.
Yeah, which is a little concerning, but I think they figured out, and then they'll have a relatively favorable matchup in round 1. But I don't think people realize how good this Suns team is. And conversely speaking, how good that Grizzlies team is. The Grizzlies are 20-2 without Ja Morant.
It's unbelievable.
It's not a lot of household names. You got guys like Desmond Bane and Jaren Jackson Jr., Brandon Clark, Steven Adams still hanging around. Dylan Brooks is back, and it's just it looks a lot like, outside of Ja, it looks a lot like the old Pistons team that made their run with not a lot of superstars, but just a ton of good role players that know their roles.
Even my guy Santi Aldama from Loyola has been getting some run of late for the Grizzlies, which has been cool to see. I've been really happy about that. Yeah.
The other thing I just found out is from the Wu-Tang series. I didn't know this. The guy that's playing Method Man was a basketball player at Towson University.
Wait, what?
Yeah.
I love that show. Hang on a second.
And he just got signed to a label too, I think. I think his rap career is going to take off.
Holy crap.
He has like 2 first names. Like his last name's Earl or David or something.
I had no idea. I'm really mad at myself for not knowing that, because I want to get that guy on the show now. Damn it. You're going to beat me to him, and I'm going to be really mad about that.
Well, no, I don't really change. Like you do. Look, I got to say this. You do a phenomenal job of getting people on the show and finding, I don't know who's in charge of that or tracking them down. I mean, you get my sorry ass every Monday. but like finding some of these gems that you guys have.
You're the headliner for the week. What are you talking about?
That's how you get the other guys. Like, well,
correct.
Jeremy can come on. You
yeah,
guys
correct. If this is the show that has Jeremy Conn, they're like, well, we just went on Jeremy Conn's show. We're like, no, we're the show that has Jeremy Conn.
But I thought that was super cool because somebody, who was it that just tweeted out his picture of him in a Towson uniform? It was really cool.
Oh, that's awesome, man. Oh, I'm totally on it. David Brewster, is that his name?
I thought his last name was different.
No, that's him. That's him. He went to Towson. David Brewster is his name. I had no clue, man. He definitely played basketball at Towson in 2008, 2009. Holy crap, man. Oh, you have taught me something today, Jeremy. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thank you. I appreciate that. That goes a long way. Hey, have I talked to you? Are you watching Winning Time, by the way?
It is by far, like, I can't wait to get home. Like, I didn't get to watch it last night. I cannot wait to get home and have downtime and just sit down and watch it.
1,000%. I watched.
I love the NBA. I love basketball. I love the history of the sport. I can't wait for Larry Bird to get introduced.
Yep.
But I love everybody that's playing every character on the show. I think they found, I don't know who else is up for it, but perfect fits for a lot of those spots.
Dude, in the first episode, when they cut to Kareem Abdul-Jabbar filming Airplane and the scene with the kid, and then they stop, they cut, and then the kid's like, actually, Kareem, you really are my favorite basketball player. Can I get an autograph? And he says, F off, kid.
Yeah.
It's so good. Like, I'm doing roundhouse kicks in my house.
Like, I love the Jerry West stuff, whether it's true or not.
Oh, who cares? No doubt.
And the fact that they're talking about him losing 6 championships and he won an MVP in a losing effort, and then he just takes that trophy and just throws it around the room like, piss on this. I wanted to win a championship.
It is brilliant, man. It is so.
How good is John C. Riley?
He's incredible.
I didn't even realize all this stuff about. Jerry
Will
Buss.
Ferrell. Did you know the story about like Adam McKay and Will Ferrell aren't friends anymore?
Yeah, they had a falling out because he wanted to. He's a huge Lakers fan.
Yeah.
He's a USC guy, and he wanted to be in this, and he just didn't give him apart.
So I was reading an interview, and there's a line where Adam McKay is like, I'm upset about it, but ultimately we made the right decision. And, like, did he ever make the right decision? John C. Riley
so good.
is – and, like, I know he's had his ups and downs. There have been things that haven't been so great from John C. Riley. Of course, we all love – the things that we've loved from John C. Riley we love in a level we can't possibly describe. He – like, you almost forget that he's John C. Riley at points. He's so bloody good at just playing this exact character. He has it nailed where he's somehow both – a playboy douchebag and the most likable person on the face of the planet at the exact same time.
I feel like he nailed it in one sentence there. Like that's absolutely true. Like who he's playing and how much you enjoy seeing him on the screen.
Oh, you can't get enough, man. Like you just give me every single element of this dude, almost to the point where like the guy that's playing Magic is great and the Magic storyline is tremendous. But I just want it to be the Jerry Buss show. Like, it's
and
so
my
good.
hope is that they just keep doing this series over and over and over again, and just go year by year. Don't rush it. Just let it play out.
Right.
Because there's so much they could tell. I actually went back and watched the Magic versus Bird documentary because what was it, last week I went down the rabbit hole on the show where I kind of was looking up like Larry Bird trash talk and how iconic he was. And he was like some of the trash talking he did. Like for example, I retweeted one of them where Craig Hodges won the year that Bird couldn't perform in the 3-point shootout. So and they said, hey, does this taint the your championship with Bird not being in it? And he goes, yeah, Bird knows where to find me. And they told Larry about it. He said, yeah, at the end of the bench. So, like he just did not care, man. And
so
like
great.
you see the fist fights with Dr. J, or when he got into it with the Pistons, he was like he would talk trash to them. There was a story I read about that he was just abusing a young Dominique Wilkins. And this is a Hall of Famer, and he's just abusing him. And he goes over to their coach, and he's like, hey, man, you ain't got anybody out here that can stick me. Do you want to get somebody off that bench? Do you have somebody at the end of your bench? And the coach looks down and says, no, Larry, I don't have anybody that can guard you. He just didn't care. I'm going to go to the elbow, shoot a jump shot over you, and win the game. Bing, wins it, get off the court, scrubs. Like, it was hilarious.
Now, again, I watched WrestleMania last night, so I have not watched last night's episode either. But like they've already put Pat Riley in the crosshairs, and we're still legitimately 2 head coaches away from Pat Riley. Like that's what gives me hope for this being like a long-term thing, is that they don't force it. Do
you know what happens to McKay?
to McKay.
Or McKinney, I mean?
Yeah, I'm familiar. Yes, I know what happens.
I don't want to ruin it for
No,
anybody.
no.
But,
If you guys don't know the real story, man, it's out there. He was in what was it? A bike accident?
A bike accident, yeah.
And so that's
he's
how
a big exercise guy. Like, he was out running with him. He's out biking. He gets hit by a car.
And that's how Paul Westphal ends up taking over. And, of course, they're going to win the championship with Paul Westphal as this interim head coach. And Pat Riley they're already planting the seeds of what will ultimately become the face of the Lakers as far as a coach is concerned down the road. So, man,
So I'm wondering if they show it in this because eventually the downfall of Westhead, right? It's Westhead, not
Westphal.
Westphal.
I said Westphal. Yeah,
Westphal,
of course, was the Suns coach and the Loyola Marymount coach. Well, no, Westhead. My God, we should have a Paul Westphal. This is like when I have to talk about No Strings Attached versus Friends with Benefits.
The same movie?
Yes, but I need one of them was good. And I can't ever remember. It was Friends with Benefits was good, right? That was the Justin Timberlake Mila Kunis one, correct?
Yeah, and the other one is that Cameron Diaz and
No
Strings Attached.
That was it was
With
Ashton
Natalie-
Kutcher
Natalie
and Natalie
Portman,
Portman,
and Ashton
correct?
Kutcher.
And it was not as good of a film.
So ironically, why didn't they just have Ashton Kutcher and Mila Kunis do it? And that could have been the start of it.
There is something significantly ironic about that, right?
Yeah.
Like literally, they went with one camp, they went with the other camp, and look how things ended.
By the way, that 70s show is getting a reboot on Netflix called That 90s Show. It's all the same cast.
They rebooted How I Met Your Mother and How I Met Your Father, and I watched 5 minutes, and I wanted to drive a stake right through my skull.
But that's nobody that was involved with the original
wait,
show.
I thought they brought back Red and Kitty, but it was going to be a different group
I read about it. It's going to be all the same cast.
I'm out.
Aside from Danny Masterson.
Well, yeah, I mean, he's probably not. Yes, he's not welcome any longer.
Yeah.
It's a
Apparently,
shame.
he didn't get the memo that even if you get canceled, you can still win something like
It's true.
Louis C.K. winning Best Grammy.
Really
for
weird
comedy
bit. Really, really weird bit, bro. Really weird bit. The way that
crazy.
worked out. Jeremy Conn is with us, by the way. We're just all over the place. That's not what we normally do. Hey, where are you as far as Duke hate is concerned? Are you and I separate it from a Maryland thing, right? Because it's an American thing. It's one of the few things that people in this country have been able to rally around over the years is like we all hate each other, we all have different political beliefs and all that, but we all can get together and enjoy when we get to watch Duke basketball lose a game. Does it give you the same joy that it gives everybody else?
No, I'm indifferent. I'm one of those, I always root for Maryland. I have no problem with Duke winning or losing either way. I mean, there'll be specific times where I'm like, ugh, I don't like most people hated J.J. Redick when he was on Duke, or you had certain people you hated if you want to go back in the Wayback Machine and talk about Christian Laettner. But I've also had those on other teams where guys you just don't like. And as I got older, I kind of became even more of a contrarian. When somebody really doesn't like somebody, I end up liking them, which is just it's the worst. But no, I don't have hatred for him. I do think what was it in the past 5 or 6 years, and maybe it's even longer than that. I hated some of the stuff from Coach K, and even after the game, there's that video where he's talking to Armando Bacot from the Tar Heels, and it just looks like he's crediting him for winning, but also kind of ostracizing him as a player, and he does that quite a bit.
Oh yeah, that's the smug. That's the thing.
Yeah, and then that's one of the reasons why I'm not a huge fan of his. But I don't openly root against or for him at all.
I am of course, again, because there's so few things that get us to rally as people. I am all on board with rallying around hating Duke, and I had this epiphany yesterday morning where I was like, I don't know if it's going to be the same moving forward. And we've been talking about on the show this morning, what you just alluded to me is so significant in this. It's the smug. It's we want to see Mike Krzyzewski get his comeuppance because he's the guy that genuinely believes that only he can teach kids how to do things the right way. He truly he enjoys the smell of his own farts. And while
you don't,
well, I mean, I've got some really good ones, and those I definitely know. But you know what I mean. And while, yes, Duke basketball will still have douchebag fans, and they will still be given more national TV games on ESPN than whatever they're worthy of getting, there will still be that. I do think some of it dissipates just because he's not present any longer. I genuinely believe that a lot of the Duke hate is centered specifically around Mike Krzyzewski, and just how truly smug he is.
Yeah, and I can see that too. And it's one of the things like watching him coach, some of his mannerisms, things he does. I think I've had more problems with him, Jim Boeheim. I'm trying to think if there's someone else. Calipari, like as much as I'm not a fan of his, I always felt like, I don't want to say he's honest, but I feel like he's honest in the moment of how he feels about certain things and losses and wins. And it's something that I like about him actually, where he's a very unlikable person for most people. But with Coach K and more specifically Jim Boeheim, when they sit there and verbally attack other players or complain they didn't get this or that, it's like, come on, dude. Like, you guys get more of the calls than most people, so stop bitching about it.
I'm with you. I'm completely with you. It's way over the top. All right. I feel like there was something. How do you feel about tonight? I know you're going to put a pick up. There's not a whole lot going on tonight for you to make picks for. God.
Yeah, and I screwed up today. I was doing my picks. There's a site I go to. I guess it's my own fault, like not even checking to see if there were any NBA games. I clicked on it, and I started breaking down tonight's slate, and I'm like,
yeah, they're
tomorrow.
Where are
all the lines?
Yeah,
I don't have any totals. So I gave out 4 plays today of what I like, and then the damn games are tomorrow, and I feel like such an idiot.
Yeah,
so,
not great.
But hey, it happens. But yeah, I like Kansas tonight. Like I think the one thing is, if we're talking about bigs, if Picard is hurt, like he's going to play tonight, but again, is he going to be effective? Is this going to be some Willis Reed type thing? How bad is his injury? They're saying they're not going to keep him off the floor, but if he's limited, that's a benefit to Kansas. And I think quietly, Kansas has been playing the best basketball in the tournament. UNC's run over some. I think somebody said they beat 3 top 10 preseason teams. They also, you knock off UCLA, who was in the Final Four last year. You knock off Baylor, the returning champ. So they've had a nice run, and of course Duke being in that mix as well. I think Coach K, like the one thing I read about him is that they ended Coach K's first loss in the ACC was the UNC. His last loss his last game at Cameron Indoor lost to UNC, and his last game that he'll ever coach in lost to UNC. So,
I get
cool.
the dude won 5 national championships, but like there is no way that any Duke fan will ever not hear about that from a Carolina fan.
Just
man.
stole part of my tidbit.
Yeah, dude, it's nuts. Well, we'll get to whatever you got. We'll get there in a minute. I hear everything you're saying. There's still a small part of me that's like, does anyone really deserve to be a 4-point favorite right now? Right? Like the way, and I get it. I do think that Kansas is the best team and all that, but like the way that Carolina has played, if Baycott can go, I don't know, man. Like it's just hard for me to 4 points does not take much. It takes a foul at the end of the game, something like that, right? And then a close game suddenly turns into a 5-point game. But I just almost feel like the smart play is to just take the points because these are 2 really good teams at this point, and if you got a chance to take some points, you take them.
Yeah, and I'm going back and forth because, just to be honest, like I'm either taking Kansas or the under, and those are the 2 things I'm looking at. I see it at 150, and I understand why it's there. Kansas does like to slow it down, and my thought process was, if you think it goes over the total, or if you think UNC wins, I would take the over. If you think Kansas wins, I would take the under because it means they're dictating and play. They're paid to play. Like for example, when Kansas played Villanova, who's another slow it down team, the total was 133, which was extremely low. Now it shot over, but Kansas was hot as anyone has been to start off that game. They were hitting everything, and Villanova couldn't buy a bucket. But with UNC, we saw that the second half against Duke, they scored almost 90 points combined. So, you can see these games get up in pace and play, and that's how UNC likes to play. I do think Caleb Love is significant tonight. Like, you need somebody, and he's the guy
that's an interesting one to me, right? Because if you're going to take, like, if you think Carolina's going to win, Caleb Love's sitting at 5-1 to be most outstanding player, right? And
that's who I would bet on.
After what he did on Saturday, like, why wouldn't you just get better odds and bet Caleb Love to be most outstanding player instead of betting Carolina on the money line? I don't. Yeah. That one stands out to me a little bit. I tell you what was good for me this weekend was a little WrestleMania betting. I know that our friends at FanDuel don't allow it, but thank you to some other places that did, because it was a pleasant. Everything except they decided to let Pat McAfee go over Austin Theory, who they've identified as being a future superstar. So why not make him job to a former NFL punter at WrestleMania? Why not do that? Everything but that was good for me from a betting perspective this weekend.
Can I? Okay, you got something, Paul? Sorry.
No. He was just saying that he felt the same way as I did.
Yeah, so I want to know this. I'm not a wrestling fan anymore. I would have watched WrestleMania had things been different. I was out of town this weekend, and but even then, I wasn't going to order it by myself. So that being said, are you like? So you had Logan Paul there. You had Pat McAfee, Johnny Knoxville. What Wee Man body slam?
By the way, and that's what that segment, everything about Sami Zayn and Johnny Knoxville was delightful. Was
really
a
okay. I
joy.
haven't seen that.
I mean, was Wee Man body slamming Sami Zayn is a top 5 professional wrestling moment to me all time. Like
you living like
that,
3 feet off the floor,
dude. It's like you couldn't believe what you were watching. You thought it had to be like some sort of Hollywood trick. Like, it was insane, and he carried him for a second. Like it was amazing.
So do you like that stuff, or do you feel like WrestleMania has to do some of the over-the-top, get celebrities there,
Right.
or do you not like that?
I've always separated the two things. I've always said, look, I get it's sort of like if you're a football fan, you have to deal with the fact that the Super Bowl is going to be about the halftime show and all that type of crap, right? You're going to have to deal with it. And so I can live with it to some extent. I have way less of a problem. Sami Zayn is such a wonderful performer that he can make something like that completely joyful. He had a huge role in why that was such a wonderful experience. And Johnny Knoxville was the perfect person to have involved because he's going to do absurd, ridiculous things. And how's it any different than watching like an old ECW match from back in the day, right? Like,
I'm definitely going to have to check that out because
it was wonderful. Chris Pontius jumping out in a thong, like, I mean, it's just everything about it was exactly what you wanted that to be.
See, the thing I have a hard time with Glenn, is knowing that George from The Wedding Singer, his brother was the former WCW champion. Some of you may call him David Arquette.
That is true.
George from The Wedding Singer's brother.
That is correct. Patricia Arquette's brother, David, was once upon a time.
But that's Alexis Arquette. In the
That's right. That is who it is. I'm sorry. Thank you. I don't know why I said it was Patricia.
Who's passed away in the past.
I did see that. You're right about that. Yes, it's Alexis Arquette's brother. Yes, David Arquette was once upon a time. That's a different thing. That's a joke. That's shameful that they ever did that, right? Like,
I'll never forgive him.
They let him be the professional wrestling champion because he was promoting a movie about professional wrestling. That's a
Dewey
joke.
from Scream was the WCW champion.
Now, by the way, have you followed his story?
No.
He hates that people hate that so much that in the last 5 years, he decided to become hell-bent about being an independent professional wrestler and has become a hardcore indie pro wrestling guy in the last 5 years, doing these like insane death matches because he wants to somehow legitimize his involvement in professional wrestling 25 years ago at this point.
So stupid.
He's nuts. He's insane. It's bonkers. But that last night, like the Johnny Knoxville thing was wonderful. The Logan Paul thing, take it. Like everybody's pointed out, he actually did a really nice job. Like Bad Bunny did a year ago. I know you made fun of it. I don't care. Bad Bunny was unreal as a professional. I don't care about him at all. He was unreal as a professional wrestler. He was
Bad
nuts.
Bunny.
Bad Bunny. It's Playa. It's Playa, not Playa. That guy was nuts. The Logan Paul thing, the guy does nothing for me. You know, he was fine, but it's a take it or leave it thing. A professional wrestler could do the same job. The Pat McAfee thing was the only embarrassing one because they let him win. They've been like telling.
But you thought otherwise. McAfee was great outside. He shouldn't have won.
100%. McAfee can do this. It's just embarrassing because they're trying to tell you that Austin Theory is a future superstar. Like, they're telling you he's going to be a champion. He is. We're strapping the rocket to this kid, and then literally having him job to Pat McAfee,
and then have Pat McAfee.
And it's only to set up all this other shtick they're going to do. And again, none of
it's more promotional, and a guy that's getting paid multi-millions to do a show for FanDuel.
And that, by the way, I don't hate Pat McAfee. God bless him, right? Like, go get yours. It's not my thing. Like, I'm not a Pat McAfee guy. Just hearing somebody use a Pittsburgh accent to me is not comedy. Like, I just don't understand. Like, I keep saying to that people, like, what's the comedy part of it? Like that when he pronounces words in weird ways. Like, what's the part? Why is he funny? And I still don't understand that. But he's personable, and I get that, and he comes off likable because of it. And so, I don't begrudge the guy in any way. Like, I probably love having a beer with him, frankly. He'd probably be a fun dude. He's just, his show is not for me. That's all. It's just not my thing. But, like, I don't have a problem with Pat McAfee being there. Just don't let him win. Like, that was the only problem. Like, having him go over the guy that you're supposed to be making a superstar. We'll talk more about this in Jobbing Out this week. There are plenty of people that are utterly bored by what it is that we're doing right now. All right, what's coming up on the Big Bad Morning Show this week?
Well, I'm in until Wednesday. Your buddy Drew will be joining us, or our buddy Drew will be joining us to talk Masters. It's a big week. And then I'm off to Chicago for a bachelor party on Thursday. So it'll be a real interesting time.
Look at you. Yeah, Drew's starting his show this Sunday. And then it's going to be another week or two before Rita and I start just because – well, I'm not going to bore you with it, but we're going to be there. It'll be a couple weeks, and then Rita and I will be joining on
I still enjoy the
Sundays.
pic of you standing outside the station with the
Dude,
CBS
it's
radio.
Jeremy, it's so – do you know the story on that?
Where did you guys get that?
So Eunice left it behind at the Combine. There was 1 year where I did my show and Eunice did the midday show with Vinny from the Combine. And, Eunice is my boy. I loved Glenn. Like, we've never – you know how this goes. I used to pretend like I was fighting with you on the radio for the sake of fighting. You know what I mean? Like, it was all about getting attention. But I've always loved you. So Eunice was the type that, like, genuinely believed if I made jokes about you on the radio, it was because I hated you. Like, so he and I didn't really know each other the same way at that time, and I had to go over to him and be like, dude, we're good. Like, I got no issue with you at all. I don't know if you heard, I'm on the smallest signal in the history of radio. I'm trying to get people involved. Like, I'm trying to do the whole thing. So he left behind the banner when they departed for the week. And I texted Drew and I said, I've got this banner. I went and grabbed it because I feel like we can do something with it. I feel like there's comedy that can be had because we have this banner. And I left him in charge. And, of course, Drew, for those that don't know, is responsible for what legitimately is the greatest April Fool's Day prank in the history of Baltimore media when he and Terry went on that morning and said that the Ravens had traded for Tim Couch. It was – they literally ran it on ESPN. It was the greatest April Fool's joke ever. Wow. So Drew came back and said, well, let's hold it until April, and you and I go over there on that morning, which, by the way, happened to be an Easter morning that year, and we'll take a picture, and we'll share it out, and we'll just say, we're reunited, details coming. And at the time, most people were like, oh, it's April 1st. But we had left a couple of Easter eggs, like the night before I had said something like, hey, there's a big announcement coming tomorrow. I won't be able to talk to you about it for a little while. Like, we had done a couple of things to try to lay the – and there were a few folks – and I won't tell you over the air, but if you want to text me, there were some people that worked with you at the time – that were really worked up about it.
I thought it was funny.
Really worked up about it. Like, it did not go over well with a few
There's
people.
still some people that have, I don't want to say sour grapes because I think it's not justified. The old station we worked at that were pissed off how things ended and how they ended up being. But that being said, it's,
right, come on,
it's a long time ago.
What are we doing? Like, what are we doing?
Yeah.
But the irony was Ryan Schell, who's helping us out again, and we love Ryan, who's back in town now working for BAL. Ryan, the day that you guys announced that Drew and I were coming over to do shows, dug up this picture, and I was like, oh, my God, the irony. Like, the irony that all these years later, both Drew and I were being announced to go do shows on 105.7 again. Oh,
that's cool.
It's incredible.
Glad to have you, man.
Love you, brother. At Jeremy Conn, 1057 on Twitter. Picks every day, PressBoxOnline.com. We'll talk to you next Monday, all right?
I'll see you, man.
Thanks, pal.
Jeremy Conn checking in with us here on GCR. Appreciate him doing that. Yeah, it'll be probably 2 weeks. I will, within the next day or so, have a definitive answer for you on when Rita and I are starting. Easter got thrown in. That was kind of a problem. Like, just some things we hadn't thought about ahead of time. I am going to be back at the FanDuel Sportsbook at Live Casino and Hotel this Sunday for the final round of the Masters. In fact, Drew is doing 12 to 2, a special Masters show on Sunday of fairways and greens on the Fan, and then he's going to come join me afterwards in the FanDuel Sportsbook. So we'll be hanging out this Sunday, and that unfortunately makes me unavailable to start because this was the day we were supposed to start doing the show over it. Mm-hmm. So that's not an option. I'm already committed. And, I hope you'll come join me in the FanDuel Sportsbook at Live Casino and Hotel tonight with Rodney Elliott for the title game, and then Sunday with Drew Forrester for the final round of the Masters, where I will, of course, be providing the expert analysis, and Drew will just be there to be a pretty face. So that's the way it's going to go on Sunday, but we'll have great giveaways again. So look forward to seeing you either tonight or Sunday in the FanDuel Sportsbook at Live Casino and Hotel Maryland, as we will be hanging out with you and trying to help you win some money, great giveaways, and more. And again, tonight, your final chance to get in, if you're a Live Rewards member, a $50 bet on tonight's game can be registered to win a $500 bracket bonus. Come back in. Paul is mad. We kind of ruined his... You know what? I apologize, John. I've seen your comments this morning. I'm sorry. Carolina has the ultimate advantage now with putting Duke and Krzyzewski in the coffin, beat them at Duke in Krzyzewski's final game there, and beat them in the first time in the school's history after their coach. Yes, anytime, I don't care how many titles Duke wins. Anytime a Carolina fan bumps into a Duke fan ever again, they will forever have this. They will forever, and there's nothing that anyone can do about it. Like, this is the ultimate middle finger.
Right.
Like, there's no, you can try to, oh, yeah, well, we won 5 national championships. By the way, I don't know if you heard Carolina's won a bunch, too. Like, there's nothing you can do. This is, it makes it so much better for those of us that hate Duke, right? Because there is just no retort. There's none, zero that you can have. I hadn't thought about the letdown possibility at all. Like, it hadn't come up to me, but when Greivis mentioned that, like, they already won the national championship, I do worry about, like, how do you come back from those emotions? You can say the flip side argument is always you're playing with house money, right? You got nothing. You got nothing to lose now. You did what you needed to do. Now you got nothing to lose, and there's something to be said for that. But I do worry that, like, you spent all week thinking about this game and being emotionally ready for this game. Now, this matchup is an afterthought, right? Like, there's no emotion between North Carolina and Bill Self.
Except it's for the national championship.
And so you hope that that's the case. You hope that, like, that weighs out and none of the other stuff matters. But these are human beings that we're talking about, right? And especially younger human beings where they're so amped up for this one thing. Can they match that intensity 2 nights later for a matchup that isn't as significant? Although we all know, of course, the title being at stake should be as significant. Also, John said, I remember when opening day baseball was always on this day. I also remember going to opening day and WWF Raw at the arena on the same night that Keith Smart hit the game winner for Indiana. That was a few years back, of course. Remember there are 3 other time zones here. We're talking about that at the top of the show. There is a bit of an East Coast bias when we bitch about 9:20 start to a national championship game. All right, come back in. Tidbit, 2-bit to wrap it up. Glenn Clark Radio.
That first sip. That first bite. Start your day off right with a delicious breakfast at Royal Farms. Choose from a fantastic selection of fresh Royal Farms breakfast sandwiches and top it off with a rich hot cup of the freshest coffee in the world. At Royal Farms, breakfast is available day and night. It's the freshest breakfast in the world. Real fresh, real fast. Royal Farms.
Answering Baltimore's calls for help, running in when others run away, working together toward one shared vision for a thriving city. That's your Baltimore Police. But the department needs more good people. People like you. Join a proud new generation of Baltimore Police and make an active difference in your community. Start with competitive wages and excellent benefits on day one. Join for good at bpdrecruit.org.
Sports betting has come to Maryland, and we're ready to help you win some money. Tune in for Simply the Bets with Glenn Clark and Paul Valley every Tuesday morning at 11:40. FanDuel Sportsbook GM Bruce Billick and VSiN's Aaron Oster join the guys every week to give you all of the info you need and even a few winners. So come win some money with us on Simply the Bets every Tuesday at 11:40 a.m. Brought to you by the FanDuel Sportsbook at Live Casino and Hotel Maryland. Listen at PressBoxOnline.com/radio. Watch at YouTube.com/PressBoxOnline.
Come in for Glory Burgers, Glory Wings. There's glory for everyone at Glory Days Grill. Enjoy the award-winning burgers, ribs, and wings, or try our fresh salads, hand-cut salmon, or our scrumptious sandwiches. Yum! Come in for daily specials every weekday, like $7.99 burgers on Mondays, $6.99 nachos on Thursdays, and Taco Tuesdays. And watch all of your favorite games at Glory Days Grill with 25 screens and private speakers at every table, plus game day drink specials. Visit us at glorydaysgrill.com for a location near you. Glory Days Grill. Great food, good sports.
Baseball is back. I'm Paul Valley.
And I'm Zach Goodman.
You can find us live every Saturday from 10 a.m. to noon talking all things Orioles and Major League Baseball.
Like the debuts of Adley Rutschman and Grayson Rodriguez.
And how the rotation and bullpen are rounding into form. Watch us live at youtube.com/PressBoxOnline and Facebook.com/PressBoxSports.
Or you can listen at PressBoxOnline.com/radio.
That's the Bat Around, live with the latest in baseball coverage every Saturday from 10 a.m. to noon.
Gambling can be a fun and entertaining experience, but there are risks involved. If you're planning on betting on the game at the casino or on your phone or computer, know your limit, stay within it. Set a budget and a time to stop. Remember, gambling isn't a financial solution, and it doesn't mix well with alcohol or drugs. Know the risks and have a plan before you begin gambling. For free and confidential services, call 1-800-GAMBLER 24/7 or go to helpmygamblingproblem.org.
We can't imagine why you'd want to, but you can watch GCR live. It's at facebook.com/PressBoxSports and try to guess whether these guys are wearing any pants.
Winding down for the day here on GCR. Tonight, Stan the Fan Charles and Ross Grimsley are going to have an emotional conversation with former Orioles reliever Jim Poole. Jim Poole, from a baseball standpoint, was an effective reliever. Probably remembered in Baltimore, he was the final Orioles pitcher to be credited with a win in a game at Memorial Stadium. Jim Poole recently let it be known that he's battling ALS, and he's talking about it openly, and I think we all know what's likely to come for Jim Poole in his fight with ALS, but appreciate him using his voice right now as he discusses it openly, and he's going to have a conversation tonight with Stan and with Ross about his battle with ALS. That'll be an emotional conversation you will not want to miss at facebook.com/PressBoxSports. If you can't watch it live, it will be available tomorrow, youtube.com/PressBoxOnline or at PressBoxOnline.com/video. Stan the Fan Charles and Ross Grimsley chatting with former Orioles reliever Jim Poole. Tidbit is brought to you today by the print issue of PressBox, which is available for free at your neighborhood Royal Farms, any of the hundreds of locations around town where you find PressBox. Read it all, PressBoxOnline.com. Of course, 20 national championship games ago, Maryland basketball cut down the nets. It was 20 years ago this past Friday. Gary Williams right there on the cover. As we celebrate that 20th anniversary of that magical moment in Maryland history, go pick up that print issue of PressBox today or read it all at PressBoxOnline.com.
Feel like quoting the girl next door. I was going to quote John F. Kennedy, but I can't do that now, can I?
Not bad.
North Carolina and Duke met in the Final Four on Saturday, marking the 100th matchup between the two institutions in the career of Coach K. With North Carolina's win, Coach K ended his career with an even 50-50 against the Tar Heels. Did you know that Krzyzewski sandwiched his entire, we all know this now, sandwiched his entire coaching career between two North Carolina losses? That's right, his first ever college basketball game as a head coach with Army, Krzyzewski lost to the Tar Heels 78-76, and in his last game, he lost to the Tar Heels 81-77. For North Carolina, it marks their 12th trip to the NCAA tournament final as they look to win their 7th title, but their first as an 8th seed. Did you know this is only the 4th time in NCAA history that an 8 seed has made it to the championship game and that only one has ever won it? In fact, the 8 seed is the lowest seed ever to reach the final. What other 3 teams accomplished the feat, and which team won the lone 8 seed championship?
Was it NC State that was the 8 seed?
No.
What seed were they then when Valvano?
I don't know, but I know that they beat like the overall number. Didn't they beat the overall number 1
Houston,
seed?
yes. I thought they were a lower seed. Maybe they were a 4. Maybe it wasn't 8. It was just, I definitely remember them being a lower seed. So the UConn team that Kevin Ollie was the coach for was a low seed, but I don't remember if they were an 8 or a 7.
Are you talking about 2014?
Yes.
They were a 7 seed.
7 seed, okay.
They lost in the final to an 8 seed that year. No. I'm sorry. They beat an 8 seed.
Yeah, they beat
final.
Kentucky was an 8 seed.
Yes, so
they beat.
that's
it was a weird year where UConn Kentucky is the championship game, and nobody would remember it was a 7-8 matchup.
The highest the highest combined seed in the history of the NCAA tournament. So you have 2 teams left.
That's gonna drive me nuts.
I thought you'd get the team that won because they blasted it all over Twitter last night.
Was it the Villanova team with Raleigh Massimino? Were they an 8 seed?
1985.
Yeah.
They beat Georgetown.
Yeah. It's hard to remember exactly what the number was, but they were definitely a lower seed. And
this was in the last 11, 12 years.
Hang on. Butler? Was it Butler? Were they?
Butler in 2011, they were an 8 seed that lost to UConn.
So the second time they were, because the first one was when they played Duke. What were they that year? What were they? I thought they were a lower seed. What seed were they when they lost to Duke?
I don't know.
All right. Well, whatever. Anyway, it's not that important. The second one, the one against UConn, was one of the worst title games of all time. It was something like 50-40. I mean, it was just a dreadful national championship game. It was wretched, and they were never competitive. It was just really bad. Of course, the one against Duke was a thriller that if only Gordon Hayward's shot would have banked in. Oh, if only. If only that would have banked in. What a moment that would have been. All right. Tidbit was also brought to you today by the Baltimore Police, as they are on the search. Join a proud new generation of Baltimore Police and make an active difference in your community. Start with competitive wages and excellent benefits on day one. Join for good. bpdrecruit.org. Here's what's coming up tonight, totally tubular-wise. The national championship game, and that's about it. Of course, Carolina, Kansas, it's on TBS at 9:20 tip-off. Hope you'll come join us in the FanDuel Sportsbook at Live Casino and Hotel. If you're looking for something else, NHL Network has Maple Leafs Lightning at 7:30, so there's that. USA Network this afternoon for Crystal Palace and Arsenal at 3. Only audio for an Orioles broadcast today against the Pirates, and it's not local. You got to find it on MLB TV. Bryce Wilson and Bruce Zimmerman, the pitching matchup at 1. MLB Network has Mets Astros right now, and the USA Network for what is normally an eventful Raw after WrestleMania tonight at 8. Anything non-sports-wise?
Shaq is on The Late Show with Stephen Colbert tonight. Jake Gyllenhaal is on Jimmy Kimmel Live, and there's not really much else.
Yeah, they don't typically go up against.
Yeah,
they like typically take the night off and let the title game sort of.
I will say that on Netflix, it's not new, but it's new to Netflix. Season 5 of Better Call Saul is on Netflix now because season 6 starts this month.
Oh, does it?
Yeah, so you can.
I didn't realize it was that soon.
Yeah,
that
so you
happy.
can binge season 5 to get caught up if you aren't caught up, so you can watch season 6.
All right. Know the risks and have a plan before you start gambling. For free and confidential services, call 1-800-GAMBLER or go to helpmygamblingproblem.org. Thanks today to Rodney Elliott. Thanks to Greivis Vasquez and to Jeremy Conn. We'll get it all up in the greatest hits section of the
Archives
tab at glennclarkradio.com. Somebody's calling me. I don't know who this is. I'll call him back. Tomorrow on the program, Patrick Stevens joins us. And Stuff and Things, I think. I think that's where we are. Hopefully a couple things we've been working on will start coming through tomorrow. All right, thanks to everybody at PressBox, all of our great sponsors and partners, including Glory Days Grill, Royal Farms, the Baltimore Police, Great 8's Memorabilia, Live Casino and Hotel, Underdog Fantasy Football, Blue Line K9, your local Toyota dealer, buyatoyota.com. Thanks to Paul. Follow him on Twitter, at Paul Valley III. Thanks to Ryan Shell. Follow him at RexSpexRyan. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Glenn Clark Radio as well. Have a great Monday night. We'll see you down in the FanDuel Sportsbook at Live Casino and Hotel. I'm probably betting some money on Carolina, so go them. Duke sucks. Ohio State sucks too.